Wednesday afternoon with your host, Mary Moorhead. Good afternoon for Virgin Islanders, St. John, St. Thomas, and all over the Caribbean and the world, because Virgin Islanders are everywhere. Welcome to a very beautiful day in paradise, St. Croix. We're going to have a very informative show this afternoon because Mr. Edward Brown is going to be here in a few minutes to give you some facts concerning the involvement of the VI where the treaty and Greenland is concerned. Okay? But before he arrives and we get into that, I just want to clarify some misinformation and some misunderstanding that was testimony. Imagine testimony in the legislature on Friday with the discussion of Bill 360187. First, and this had nothing to do with the bill, but it was a statement made on record by Board of Elections Chair Raymond Williams, talking about it was a disrespect and an abomination because member Cleopatra Peter and I believe member Laurent also both sent in testimony in support of the bill. People, let me make sure and clarify. Okay, uh, anybody who is a member of a board, a committee, a commission, whatever, has the right. Freedom of speech applies all the time. Okay, all happens is that person who is a member just have to make sure that they clearly state that the comments, whatever the statements made, are theirs only and not representation of the organization, the board, the commission, whatever that they're a member of. But there is nothing that says you cannot speak. And I can relate to that. Really, I know what exactly they're referring to because I had that problem to deal with when I first got on the Board of Education, and I, would put out ever so often, quarterly or whatever, report of my work done on the board, whatever. And one of the members wanted to sanction me, and I had to make it clear to them. But you see, people, it's just a matter of that points out to you the ignorance of some of these people who serve on these boards, that they really don't know and understand law. Okay, but let me make sure you understand. Freedom of speech, it exists all the time, regardless of how you sit. You just have to always point out that it is your comments. Like, for instance, even now, here I am on the radio, and I always make sure to point out that my statement, my comments have nothing to do with the management owners of Caledonia Communications. They are those of me, myself, or the guests if there happens to be guests present. So keep that in mind, okay? Because I thought that was really, well, a misrepresentation, and I was sort of disheartened that that the chair of the committee, the Senate committee, who was in charge of the hearing, didn't correct the statement made by Chairman Williams, the board chair. Okay, so I thought it's important to correct it because this is part of the problem that we have such little involvement and participation of the regular public because many times they feel intimidated. The public I'm talking about because they realize that they're not familiar with rules, regulations, the laws, whatever, and then they're taken advantage of. So I just, whenever I get the chance, if I know what needs to be corrected, I correct it. Okay. Now there were also a lot of misinformation being perpetrated by Senator Angel Moquez. I don't know who sent he. Okay, and folks, yes, this is my opinion, but somebody definitely sent he, because every question he asked, every statement he made was simply to put negativity uh, as- about the Bill 360187. Okay, for instance, he began by asking if the board authority would be usurped because the counting of votes would be done at the voting centers. Okay, and you see, the voting centers uh, always have a judge, and that judge is who has the authority of the voting center. But that does not in any way usurp or negate the authority and power of board members. I mean, after all, you know, the board members that have oversight, okay, let's put it that way, uh, of the particular voting center. So it was not, and here's the thing that really pissed me off, putting it plainly. For those of you who don't know, or those of you who don't remember, Angel Volquez came to the legislature by way of the Board of Education after he left as deputy superintendent, deputy supervisor in the St. Thomas St. John District Department of Election. Okay? He was Miss Fox deputy supervisor. If I don't have it right, I think what happened was that when he left is when Miss Douglas came. Okay, but the point is, he's supposed to know the stupid question that he was asking about because he worked at the election system for years. Okay, and then went to the Board of Education, where really he had the worst attendance ever. And then he held up the work of the board because he was placed to replace Mr. Payne. And when Payne got in his situation, and he did not resign from the board. So he was holding the two positions, okay? Sitting as senator, replacing Payne, holding the position of Board of Education, not going to the meetings, not doing anything, but not resigning. So therefore, election came, okay? He was elected to the legislature, still did not resign, okay? So that the position of at large uh, with the Board of Education could be filled. Okay, so this is the person that we have now in the at large seat with the legislature, who is claiming to represent the people when really he interfered with the workings of the Board of Education. One, and two, is sitting in the legislature, um, main in ignorance of the operation of a position he left. Okay, because folks, like me or like me not, if You spend time at a job, specifically deputy supervisor at the Board of Elections in St. Thomas, would you not know and understand the operations of the Board of Election and not have to now be asking ignorant questions, sitting as a senator eh, with the Board of Elections in front of you? And don't tell me that it was rhetorical and he just, no. He never said that I'm asking it for the benefit of the viewing and listening audience. He never said that, which is what usually a person will say when they know something, but they want to have the clarity for the benefit of the people listening. He didn't say that. So let's not look to come to be um, with that as an excuse. Okay. Equally, we have Senator Carla Joseph, who really did the same thing. And why do them say she do the same thing? Because, again, for those of you who don't remember and those of you who don't know, her transition was direct. Senator Carla Joseph sat as a member, a board member of the Board of Elections in St. Thomas, St. John, okay, before she ran and was elected senator, okay? And she too then asking questions like, who swears in the officials in election day? Okay, now remember that the woman was a board member. So how could she not know who swear in the workers, the officials who work at the polling places on election day? Okay. Um, tell me, you either have people, like I said, you have people who you elect, okay, yes, you elect them to be sitting on these boards, to be sitting in these institutions, you elect them. But that is because we don't properly vet them. And I am highlighting this situation because we are in election year. And I want to make sure because this election is critical and we can't play footsie, play nice, play compassionate, play anything but business wise in being serious about the vetting of the candidates for all the positions that they will be uh, nominated for this election. Okay, there's no one position more important than the other. All elected positions are important. So people, get yourself in gear. Okay, stop with the, well, I am going to give him or her a vote because I went to school with them or because I know them long time or because whatever. Okay, make sure you understand, okay, that if you have not been involved in working, okay, with that person, participating in some institution, some organization, or whatever, then you don't really know them. Because really, that's how you get to know folks. So if that be the case, then you need to do your research first. So you understand the position, what the position calls for, that the people are signing up for, and make sure to ask the appropriate questions. Make the proper inquiries. For instance, okay, and I'm going to mention this because I've been asking for some time, and I already asked a person who supposedly is going to be a candidate for the position, and seemingly has some involvement already. And to my amazement, the person couldn't answer. And I'm talking about the position of delegate to Congress. Folks, the revised Organic Act says that whatever is manufactured here in the Virgin Islands and territory and goes to the mainland, it is taxed. Okay, is and the taxes are supposed to come directly back to us, back to the territory. Now, you recall that we've been getting back and forth with this 1050 and the 1325, and now we're finally settled that the big ugly bill that the U.S. Congress passed not so long ago made a permanent payment of 1325 for proof gallon for the rum that we send to the mainland. Now, here's my concern. My concern is nobody has ever said, and I've been asking, what is, what are the taxes exactly, the excise tax? What exactly is the cost of the tax, excise tax that is applied to the rum? For whatever reason, I don't think it's 1050. I don't think it's 1325. As a matter of fact, I think it's much more than that. Okay. So I want to know what exactly it is, and then for us to understand, well, how much the US Treasury is keeping. Because, I mean, I understand and know that when an office performs a job, they must get what is called an administrative fee. Now, I think, I'm not sure with this one, that the standard administrative fee uh, is 4%. I might be wrong, I'm not sure. Okay? If anyone knows exactly what it is, well, my audience and I would like to know. Oh, I forgot to give the numbers: 340 773 0390 or 340 773 0490. But as I said, if you know exactly how much the excise taxes are that are applied to these products that are manufactured in the territory and sent to the mainland, please, we would like to know. Because I think we're still getting ripped off. Well, let me not use the word ripped off because, okay, whatever we're getting is because we, the people of the Virgin Islands, allowed is allowing the U.S. Treasury to take. And why I say that? Because, as I said, the revised Organic Act of 1954 specifically said the taxes are to be returned to the Virgin Islands of the United States. It didn't say a percentage, it didn't say partial, it said the taxes. And as I say, it is understood, yes, that there must be some deduction for the processing, which is called the administrative fee. But I don't think from donkey years back to now that the taxes, the excise taxes, is still the same, swinging between, you know, the well, what they call now the 1325. So I asked. She was on a radio show, and I sent a text asking the question for candidate Helenese, and I'm saying candidate because she has said that she is a candidate for the delegate to Congress. But why I asked, not because she's just a candidate, but because she also said in that presentation that she had something to do. She was involved somehow because she is presently employed by Governor Albert Bryan as some type of representative or intermediate representative in DC presently. And she claimed that she had some involvement in the securing of the 1325 bill. So I thought, well, if she was involved, then she must know what really, if that is exactly what they collect, or if there's more. So I text the question to the host, and the response was she didn't know. Okay, and I have not heard since then um, her response to the question. I guess she just um, blanking it. But folks, it is an important clarity that is needed. Okay, why? Because if the taxes are more than 1325, say for instance the taxes are $20. Okay, as I said, we expect a deduction of an administrative fee for the processing, for the collection, doing the work to collect the taxes. But other than that, still, if it's say $20, we should be getting more than 1325. Okay, so that then becomes the duty, the job of the delegate to Congress to work to get to the U.S. Treasury or whatever and let them know, hey, yo, y'all still owe us some money. Hmm. So, like, what's happening? How are we going to get it? When are we going to get it? Some type of inquiry should be made. Okay. And I am saying that because, folks, that's one of the questions, one of the concerns that you need to make to anybody, to all of the so-called candidates for the delegate to Congress, for the position of delegate to Congress. Okay? That's what I wanted to clarify. Now, continuing on concerning the hearing that we had on Friday. Okay? Um, I have to take issue with Senator Fonseca. Okay, and here's why. It was clearly stated by Supervisor Fox that the law exists right now that every election there must be paper ballots available for any person who requests to want to vote by paper ballot. That exists. So here it is now, and even when she said that, I was kind of taken aback that nobody, and by the way, yes, I was sitting in the St. Croix legislature because I gave testimony, but I'm told afterwards that they have a policy that when they hold the meetings with the chair in St. Thomas legislature building, that they keep the microphones of the people in St. Croix shut off. So I could not in any way signal to the people that I wanted to make some clarity, some corrections of things that was done. So here it is. Supervisor Fox is saying that paper ballots is on every single election, but yet she gave all these different concerns that she has about the use of paper ballots. The fact that it have to be secured, the fact that it has to be uh, stored, the fact that it has to be transported, all kinds of concern. and not one person seemed to have the comprehension, I guess I got to call it, to or the analysis to listen to the woman and then ask, but if you've been using paper ballots all these years, how is it that you say you have no problem with the election, but now you're telling us about concerns for the use of paper ballot? So, what's the difference? Because those paper ballots are now asking to have the votes hand counted, the paper ballot going to be a problem? When we're using paper ballot ever since the 70s, and nobody ain't got problem with the security of moving it, with the problem of printing it, with the problem of storing it, or whatever. I just trying to find out who can make sense out of nonsense. Because Senator Fonseca went on to ask and to say that he see a problem that now you have to design the paper ballot and you have to print the paper ballot and you got to distribute the paper ballot. And I want to know if the man had some stroke because the lady just get through saying we always using paper ballot and they had none of them problems all these years. But let me then because I can't disrespect that the man of the hour, Mr. Edward Brown, is in the house wearing a pretty African shirt.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Today is the day. I hope you're ready, Miss Moorhead. You're going to be shocked. I saw your face and hearing your look. I was about to say, you look frustrated. You had your hand on your head. I said, you I said, he's good for that, but you catch yourself. But I couldn't tell it was in your head.
You definitely
Yeah.
read the right.
Wow, you didn't hide it. The camera was like, what am I doing here? But we'll talk about that issue. I definitely. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a pleasure to be on with you, Miss Moorhead. Like I said, today is the day, folks.
Yep. And
I dropped the hammer.
and I'm not going to hold you up. So hello,
Well,
the floor is yours, Mr. Brown. Everybody's prime ready and probably done turn on
yes, all around the world.
recorder and all kind of
People
things.
won't
So,
believe this, but it's the truth. And before I start going in depth, first of all, thank you, Miss Moorhead, for everything. When you said you were running, I saw you out there. I tell you, you're gonna win, and my spirit tell me you're gonna win, and you're gonna help me to get to that next stage. I don't remember I said that right, and I was like, I don't know what is in it, but I just feel you would help me, and you did with the Constitutional Convention by saying, Brown, go down there and put things. I know they haven't for the education. They
oh,
don't
no,
reach
no,
out to
no,
me.
no, 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 no. You just because I forgot to let the people know. I believe I forwarded
Yes,
to you Saturday,
yes,
this Saturday, and
correct,
I'm going to miss. There's a plenary session
correct.
going to be held on the second floor at Roseland Airport from 10 a.m. And I'm encouraging everyone
Yes,
who's available to go sit and listen because I'm thinking that they will be adapting
the education component,
or
other stuff.
quite a few of that stuff. And I'm letting people know too that your parking ticket
Yes,
is void when you go up because they just so don't worry about being parked and have to pay a bunch of money when you come down. They just the chair or somebody from Port Authority will initial it so that when you're leaving you don't have to pay.
yeah.
So folks put that down in your calendar for sure.
I think the have a meeting on Friday. I got the information from Ms. Imani, but it's having a problem link, like giving me the info to get in. It's like 5 to 7 in the evening. And there's language there, of course, I said it before, I want to see free tuition in our constitution. And many of the delegates support that. So we'll see how that plays out. So that was number one. And then number two, which was the big one, the last time I was on and I was telling you I'm reaching out to the delegate's office, the governor's office, and you said, no, wrong, one more time. I was like, what? One more time. And I told you, I don't know about that. And I went home and spoke to my wife, and she's like, another time, Edward? But you did everything the right way, right? And when she said that, I realized, no, I did not. because I never, yeah, I sent information to the governor asking and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, if you really want the government of the Virgin Islands to do something, you need to write a formal letter.
Mhm.
You need to get it from, with like the date and someone signing for it,
Mhm.
because then that is what makes it official.
Mhm.
And from since that time, I'm now getting the help from the wonderful folks for the delegates office, Miss Scotland, Miss Rivera, wonderful folks. And just today, I dropped off the binder to Government House. I think Attorney Evangelista got it as well.
Okay, great.
So that process has started. So I owe you, Miss Moorhead, one question. So, folks, while you're going to just sit back, relax, it's not very long, but I'm not.
Let me just clear this before
No
you start.
problem.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Ms. Moorhead. Good afternoon, Dr. Brown. I just wanted to say something before you got started.
No
I
problem.
know today is the day we're going to talk about Greenland.
Yes,
But, Dr. Brown,
yes.
are you aware that this past Saturday, the Tokyo bond market collapsed?
I heard about that. I heard about it.
And,
Serious? And
and
that's
as
the
a
biggest
result,
debt holder?
and as a result of the crash of the bond market, there was a margin call here. And when you look at that, the first thing I said, well, let me see what's going on with the special purpose vehicle bond,
Mm-hmm.
which, as you know, was floated to keep the government employee retirement system of the Virgin Islands from going insolvent.
Right.
But one of the things I said, well, let me see how the Azure did last year. Well, they had a decline in sales, 9.1%.
Yeah.
And as you look at the demographics, this younger generation, Gen Z or whatever you want to call it, they're not really into alcoholic spirits. So there's a decline across a 4-day contiguous.
A question, Mr. Grant. Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that decline in total or is that decline just US sales?
That was, I Googled the 4-day contiguous US states because that's where we get the cover over from. Just a 4-day contiguous, right, Dr. Brown?
I assume
Yes,
so.
but
I
here's
assume
the thing, and I always had a problem with, because we do fund the molasses for everything,
Right.
and they sell other than the US,
correct.
which has always been my problem with this whole
That has to
deal.
be addressed the next
So
conference.
that's why I'm asking that, because I mean, they could be maneuvering something to just to take advantage of we. I don't trust nobody.
Well,
So if you have the time, if you could, when you do a little thing again, check to see, if that is all the same.
well, I will check to see if it's all the sales. But of course, since it's a U.S. product,
Uh-huh.
due to the tariffs, Canada have taken all of such a Kentucky bourbon and everything else. So I
Yeah.
would assume
Yeah.
Cruz and Diageo, because it's the U.S. Virgin Islands,
Okay.
will be part of the tariff war. So,
That's true. Okay.
but the reason I said that happened Saturday, the governor just did the State of the Territory Monday
Yeah.
with no mention about the.
Mr. Grande got a whole heap of thing he mentioned. So I hear, because I didn't listen. Eh?
Well, he was on Neville James show this morning, and Neville asked him, and I edited that. He said, out of your 7 years, do you have any regrets? And he said, the one regret I had was not to be a dictator.
I
You
know he,
really said that?
yeah, I know he would say that. I told you.
Listen,
That's not the Albert Bryan I know.
Come to him and said, in real time, Governor, that's not a nice thing to say.
Well,
Well, but in a sense, he was, as much as he could be. Yeah, because I mean, remember, he did things violating the VI code and whatnot with those appropriations that were itemized appropriation that he went and used. So I mean, he did dictate as far as as he could. Right?
Well, he said he wanted to be, I guess, more Trump-like.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I don't want to.
I hope that
program,
we are
I
going to
just
get it
wanted
Trump-like.
to mention that. And while we're doing that, I'm
Okay. Thank you much.
Yeah, I think
Right.
You're welcome.
two things. I think if I understand the leader in Japan, she's a female, the first female. I think she calling special elections. Japan has had a lot of prime ministers over the last 20 years in and out. So they, you know,
Well,
there is society.
Isn't Japan and China the two debt big debt holders?
But
the
China is a
US
big
debt?
debt holder for the US debt, but the US debt is spread out all around the world. But
Okay.
China has a big one. I think what the governor meant, and I've said it to him too. I said, you know, the person that I knew from 14 is not the Albert Brand I know now. And I've said it to him. I said, you know, you are find yourself in some trouble here because there's some people in the administration, executive employees in the government that's doing some stuff that you know that this is not your style. Your style is to micromanage so people know that you're not playing around. Look, today now they said they arrested a bunch of people dealing with Medicaid. 11, somebody just called me before I came up, 11 to 30 something people. They're in the
Wow.
consortium.
Wow.
This is what he's talking about. This is not, I keep telling people, the Albert Brand that I grew up with is not the Albert Brand leading the government. He's not.
But Mr. Brown,
This
you
is
know,
how you get in trouble.
it's from, and I'm going to say that this is my opinion, from the Young administration, as I see, corruption has only been increasing. So, you know, and what we don't understand is you then are encouraging these young people who, well,
We're going on.
you know, that to do wrong instead of trying to show them to go right, because a lot of them are very intelligent and have the skills, but they're just looking shortcut.
And you're making 85, 100,000. Most people on the
Okay.
planet don't make that.
And that
Billions
is-
of people
And
don't
that is
make
something
that.
I hope the next administration is going to roll back, because we need to stop with this six-figure salaries. We can't afford it.
Well, that's a discussion for whoever wins,
Okay.
but there are things coming. And that ties back even to the Danes and all of that. A lot of that corruption started, and you're going to find out. So, Ms. Moed, I'm going to give you
Right.
something. I don't know if you've ever seen this. This is my private collection, folks.
But then I never see the
docu- Well, I don't know if you've seen the report. Let me say that.
Okay.
It's the Virgin Islands report of Joint Commission appointed under authority of the concurrent resolution passed by the Congress of the United States, January 1920. Commissioners on part for the Senate was William S. Kenyon. They often call this report the Kenyon report because he was very good with Rachel Francis. Rachel Francis was an activist out of St. Thomas of Iowa. Walter E. Edge of New Jersey. Edward J. Gay of Louisiana. Commissioner in part of the House of Representatives, Horace M. Towner of Iowa. Finis J. Garrett of Tennessee. And Philip P. Campbell of Kansas. This is yours. I made a copy for you.
Oh, thank you.
That's yours. And that's going to tie into everything. So let me give this disclaimer as well. Today's topic is not going to be pleasing to everyone. The intent is to educate our community with facts, not opinions. The information provided is based on 22 years of research and can be verified independently. You saw my copyrights, correct, Ms.
Yes,
Moorhead?
I saw them.
Okay, so the folks heard Ms. Moorhead said I have the copyrights, and that's protected legally by the U.S. Constitution and the government of the United States. While aspects of the topic may be considered hard to hear, it is not intended to cause offense, even though some may see or hear it as such. We will focus on historical facts and how these facts have and continue to impact our community, our people. The information provided is solely that of myself, the speaker, and do not represent the host, Ms. Moorhead, the staff, or owners of this station. And like I said, if Josh was here, I was going to give him one question. If you have one question, Ms. Moorhead, for folks, I can't answer any more questions in regards to that. My legal people said they didn't even want me to come on, Ms. Moorhead, to be honest with you. But like I always tell people, once I give my word and I have ownership, you can't tell me what to do. I know what to say and when
Mr.
to
Brown, I
do it.
have no questions. You do and say what you have to say. I'm just looking like everyone else to be informed and enlightened and totally educated.
Okay, so here we go.
Go ahead.
So this is another one. My research is copywritten by the U.S. Copyright Office under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8 of the Constitution. I'd like to recognize the folks from Ghana. I think they're here today. Someone texted me that they're here on the island of St. Croix. You say, look at the shirt. You know, the ancestral energy is very strong in these islands, and we should never forget that. Now, the Inuit people have been in Greenland for thousands of years, arriving from Canada around 4,500 years ago. Different European nations have claimed part of Greenland to include Norway and Denmark. Denmark established its modern colonization of Greenland in 1721 with missionary Hans Egede. By 1555, here in what we now know as the Virgin Islands of the United States, the native indigenous population, the First Nation people, were driven away from the Virgin Islands as directed by Charles V of Spain. This was an act of genocide. Now, Crown Prince Frederick of Denmark started the emancipation of Danish serfs in 1788. Full emancipation occurred in 1800s. And that serfdom system is a system where you're bound to the soil. Excuse me, I have a dry cough, folks, so I might not stay till the 4:30, but I'm gonna get through this. And that system was stand-in. So the Danes were well aware of keeping, especially males between the ages of 14 to 40, on the estate for the nobility. And serfdom, like I said, can go from involuntary servitude to actually slavery, where people are being treated as property. The slavery component wasn't necessarily much of a feature in serfdom in Europe, but it did happen. And it happened way more often than people give credit. And even now around the world, that's the model that's mostly used, especially in South America, where you have these massive plantations where people are in these urban areas, they just disappear, they end up on these plantations, and not just South America, it's all around the world, and never heard of again. And they're literally stuck on these plantations until the day they die. Chattel slavery, you know, after what happened with Gaddafi, has become a gateway now for chattel slavery, and it's very unfortunate. Hopefully, you know, the world would get behind that and end that system in that part of the world. Now, in 1867, Secretary of State William H. Stewart spoke about acquiring Greenland and Iceland for national security. Secretary Stewart also made an attempt to acquire the Danish West Indies through the Treaty of October 24, 1867. The treaty provided for the American acquisition of St. Thomas and St. John for $7.5 million, with the understanding that the inhabitants of these islands would be allowed to express their agreement through a plebiscite, which they did. The 1867 treaty failed because of a lack of support in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. On October 24, 1879, King Christian IX gave royal assent, that means gave agreement, to the ordinance concerning penalties for vagrancy and begging in the Danish West India Islands. That's the name of the title, West India Islands. This new vagrancy ordinance superseded the ordinance for the prevention of vagrancy in the Danish West India Islands, which received royal assent on August 18, 1853, under King Frederick VII. From 1853, we had King Frederick VII, then King Christian IX, then King Frederick VIII, and then finally King Christian X. Right now in Denmark, there's King Frederick X, and he took over after his mom stepped down, Queen Margaret II. Robert Peary was a U.S. Navy civil engineer and Arctic explorer. During his 1898 to 1902 expedition, he reached Cape Maurice Jesup, the northernmost point of Greenland. Peary was not looking for fame for himself or the U.S. Instead, you know, Peary was just an explorer. But since he was the first person to reach the northernmost point of Greenland, thus in the eyes of some, he established a claim for the United States. Peary found that Greenland was an island not connected to Canada or some polar continent. In June of 1915, Secretary of State Robert Lansing asked Dr. Maurice Egan, the U.S. ambassador to Denmark, to start secret negotiations with Denmark for the Danish West Indies. In his nonfiction book, which I have, 10 Years Near the German Frontier, a retrospect and a warning, Dr. Egan recounts how he approached Danish Foreign Minister Erik Scavenius, who also served as the Prime Minister of Denmark from 1942 to 1943. This was during World War II and the occupation that occurred at the hands of the Germans. The purpose of their first discussion was to explore the possibility of acquiring the Danish West Indies. This is Dr. Egan and Foreign Minister Scavenius. Dr. Egan concurred that the United States would relinquish its Greenland claim and provide a significant financial compensation to Denmark. The United States sought control over the Danish West Indies due to its strategic positioning, significant economic interests in Central and South America, particularly with the Panama Canal nearing completion, and to avert the islands being handed over to another European nation in accordance with the Monroe Doctrine, which today now we have the Don Road Doctrine, and you hear the similarities in regards to President Trump expressing these same interests over the Western Hemisphere. Now, discussions will continue into 1916, and on August 4, 1916, Treaty Series 629, the convention between the United States and Denmark, secession of the Danish West Indies, was signed at Hotel Biltmore in New York City by Secretary of State Robert Lansing and Danish Ambassador to the United States, Constantin Brun. The declaration regarding Greenland is in the back of the treaty, Series 629. Some call it the Robert Lansing Declaration or the Lansing Declaration. The U.S. Senate approved Treaty Series 629 on September 7, 1916. Denmark held an official plebiscite in October of 1916. The vote was 283,694 for and 157,596 against. There was no official plebiscite held in the Danish West Indies, according to the United States State Department. The people of the Virgin Islands have never consented to being governed by the United States. Now, Public Law 94-584 is asking the people of the territory to give that consent through the adoption of a local constitution. King Christian X signed the treaty on December 22, 1916. The treaty became law on January 16, 1917, when President Woodrow Wilson signed the treaty. March 3, 1917, Public Law 389 established a temporary government for the Virgin Islands of the United States. This was the first organic act, and all of the Danish laws remained in place. Now, the formal transfer of the Danish West Indies to the United States was on March 31, 1917. Denmark received the official transfer notice on April 1, 1917, which is April Fool's Day. Now, U.S. citizenship was granted on February 25, 1927. The serfdom variant that started in 1879 ended in 1936 with the second Organic Act. Our governing document since 1954 has been the revised Organic Act of 1954 as amended. And on December 29, 2002, Bill 34-0146 became Act number 8543, and that's also known as the Four Queens Bill that I worked on with Senator Javon James and others. Now, let me say this, I have to say this. Now, the Four Queens, and you can jump in, Ms. Moore, you may even know better. The Bottom Belly, from my understanding, was not known as a queen on the plantation while she was here, folks. We will refer to her as the fourth queen because she served time in Denmark like the others. But if you want to get technical in regard to that term queen, she wasn't a queen. But since she had to go through fighting those women, fighting the male guards, fighting the oppression, and got torn down, because all of those women, they got severe treatment. And even when they got back here, they were forced into hard labor for the rest of their lives. That's why we call her the fourth queen. But in reference to the plan, when she was here before the fireburn, before the uprising, she wasn't known as a queen from the research I've done and others. But we just say four queens, which is out of respect. But I want that to be known. Now, in regards to the men, you can help me out, Ms. Moore. I forget. I know General was one, General Bottle. But do you have any idea what the men were called? I know it wasn't king. We didn't call anybody king.
No, I can't.
Well, when you remember, maybe your brother will call in and say what it is. I know he listens to you, so I'm not sure. But I know it's not king, because we didn't have king and queen.
No.
You can't remember now, right? They'll come to you. They'll come to you. And so Governor Brand signed that piece of legislation into law on December 29, 2022. Now, Denmark and Greenland. American recognition proved decisive in 1921, or somebody gonna text you. Denmark issued a decree that all of Greenland fell under its sovereignty. A Norwegian claim to parts of Greenland ended in 1933 when the Permanent Court of International Justice ruled against Norway. Thus, Denmark's claim to Greenland was valid. In 1953, Greenland's colonial status ended and incorporation occurred. This incorporation resulted in severe abuses against Greenlanders by the hands of Danes. On June 21st, 2009, Greenlanders gained self-rule and were recognized as a separate people under international law. Since 2009, US President Donald Trump has claimed that the US should control Greenland. The US and Denmark have numerous military-related treaties since 1950. Now, recent estimates suggest that Greenland could cost as much as $500 billion. Currently, there are talks between the Trump administration, Denmark, and NATO regarding Greenland. Yeah, so yeah, 5%. Yeah, the numbers keep rising. However, folks, this is the part you've never heard. And all of you are going to say, you are not talking the truth, Dr. Brown. I know the history. My powerful friends call me the historian because I'm that good. And this is what makes me good. There is no historical evidence to suggest that Denmark revoked the ordinance concerning penalties for vagrancy and begging and other local laws prior to the official transfer occurring. The words used in the ordinance concerning penalties for vagrancy and begging in the Danish West Indies is in direct contradiction to the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment states neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist in the United States or any place. That's us, subject to their jurisdiction. While treaties may preempt contradictory state law and supplement earlier in time federal legislation, the treaty power is not broad enough to override the Constitution. Treaty Series 629, the Convention between the United States and Denmark for the secession of the Danish West Indies in 1917, remains a foundational legal document for the transfer of sovereignty of the islands now known as the Virgin Islands of the United States. Its core provisions are still applicable, though subsequent U.S. law has superseded some aspects. In the United States, a treaty that violates the U.S. Constitution is not valid. I see your eyes open up. You're looking at me like, where are you going, Dr. Brown? Are you for real? You gonna say what you are about to say? Yeah, I'm about to say. While treaties are considered part of the supreme law of the land under Article 6 of the U.S. Constitution, no treaty has broad enough power to supersede the U.S. Constitution. My findings suggest that Treaty Series 629 lacks validity, and the United States does not possess sovereignty over the Virgin Islands of the United States. You can face. Furthermore, the residents of the Virgin Islands of the U.S. have never agreed to be governed by the United States. The Virgin Islands of the United States rightfully belongs to the people of the Virgin Islands. The United States and Greenland do not require Denmark's involvement in any discussion regarding Greenland, as U.S. claim over the northern part of Greenland remains valid. President Trump can send troops to Greenland today, folks, and restate that claim. Denmark deliberately misled the United States, resulting in a loss of $25 million in gold coins, for which the United States, which today could be worth anywhere between $650 million to $1.5 billion. So I want to say this again, folks. All this thing about, oh, we under the U.S. flag for the last 109 years, we have been. But they don't have sovereignty over us. They have no claim over us. We follow their laws because we chose to follow their laws, thinking that the U.S. had sovereignty. The U.S. doesn't have sovereignty, and we never consented. So yes, we are unincorporated territory because we're not independent or freely associated, but we're not with them, period. And the Danes knew this. The leadership knew this. And so why am I talking about this today? Because it's very important. And to disprove my research, because right now there are folks all around the world, they're picking up their phone, making calls to find out if what I'm saying is true, and they're going to be doing it through the next couple of days. But if I'm wrong, with some of you listening may say, no, you're wrong, because you heard this for 109 years. We're under the U.S. So your brain is going to tell you he's lying. Dr. Brown is lying. There's no way, but it's the truth. So all Denmark needs to do is provide the date when the ordinance concerning penalties for vagrancy and begging was repealed to disprove my claim. However, the date doesn't exist. And in 1901, Denmark and the United States signed a treaty in reference to Iceland. And in that treaty with Iceland, it states that there will be no slavery or any attempt to hold people from being free. Like what happened with Queen Mary them in 1878 when they tried to get out of that serfdom system. So in 1901, the Danes said, yeah, we're going to agree to that. In 1906, the US and Denmark again went back and signed another treaty, this time making it applicable to Hawaii and the Danish West Indies. And the Danes agreed. They agreed.
Right.
They said, okay, this is fine. All the time, they were well aware of what was going on with the people in these islands. So it's amazing that Denmark today in 2026 will be talking about sovereignty when they have no sovereignty over Greenland. And the US has no sovereignty. Ms. Moorhead shaking her head. You believe me, right, Ms. Moorhead?
Yeah, I believe it. It's just confusing me. Yeah.
But that's exactly right. It's unbelievable.
Yes,
They duped the US for $1 billion and walked out the door. You see why we have corruption in the VI? That's where it started.
You want to say it?
It's from them. Corrupt leadership. And they knew it. And they just decided we're going to shut our mouth, take the money, the 25 million in gold coins, not dollars, gold coins, and just tell everybody we own this place. Bad behavior. But why am I doing this? Because I promise you, Ms. Moorhead just laughing, folks. You probably see on the video. It's unbelievable. Some of you probably laughing and saying, what is going on? Yeah, that's what's going on. I made a promise to you, Ms. Moorhead, and I kept my word. And second, the teaching of VI history in the public school system is happening now. And I feel like historical accuracy. You know that? Yeah, you didn't know that?
No. Happening. Oh, with who?
Well, see,
Mr. Brown,
let me not get in trouble.
don't tell me about those what they call workbook.
No, they got let me listen.
Because they have no text. They're using workbooks that
Yes.
were designed or whatever by Dr. Larry Larson
Yes.
and some other people
Yes,
that I had a problem with for the first one I saw
yes,
that is still referring to us as the U.S. Virgin Islands.
right.
When the Revised Organic Act of 1954 clearly specifically says we are,
The Virgin Islands of the United States,
which is totally different.
than USVI.
Exactly.
Well, let me
So
say
why are we? And I mean, I went through, and I sure you probably know you didn't because
didn't.
you were better educated and more instructed than I was. I went through a period of adjustment when I went to the States to school,
Mhm.
thinking I am a full American because I come from the U.S. Virgin Islands, only to after realize that I was not.
No.
And this is what we're doing to our young people,
Right.
which is why we need to stop with this U.S. Virgin Islands
It
business.
don't apply. That's what I'm saying. All that we know is a big lie.
Thank you. And we have the
It's a
opportunity
big lie.
to correct it
Right now.
with the classes that you're talking about, but we're not doing it. We're still looking to continue with the lies and the misinformation.
Well, let me say this two things. I leave that discussion to Superintendent Bastian and Mr. and Dr. Larson. Hopefully they'll come out and explain what they're doing. I've seen some stuff in your reference. I see the teachers doing some stuff and the parents. But let me leave it at that because that's above my pay scale, and I don't want them to say I'm crossing over Miss Moorhead. So I
I
know.
sat in a class in St. Thomas, okay, because of a board visit.
Yes.
And one of the members harassed me for the rest of the day because she said, you look like you are ready to explode. Because there was a VI history class, and the woman is talking about that if you did certain things, you might get arrested and put in jail. And she talking about the Danish jurisdiction, you know.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there thinking, where the hell this woman get this information from?
Put in jail.
Hey,
That was a lucky thing. They
You
said
understand?
amputate, decapitate, all kind of
Thank you.
abuse, cut off the black women, especially. Oh, they tortured the black
And
women.
all I could do as we were leaving was say to the teacher, Miss, please do a little more research. Check your source.
Check your source.
But I mean, I did sit there because the member kept harassing me, Miss
Yeah.
Morehead. You look, you were right. I said, because I can't speak. I can't speak on the turn. She's teaching the class. We're observing. And to be perfectly honest, I was probably the only one that realized the information was not accurate.
No, because like I said, when people don't know the history, they often become the victims in history.
And we are
And that's us.
fighting not to know.
No, because there are many people who want to say that they're under the U.S. and the U.S. is going to incorporate us. Folks, that's never going to happen now.
Hey,
But I'm going to tell you what's going to come next. Because I know folks are listening, they're probably terrified, like this guy can't be talking the truth. What about our citizenship? What about, folks, I'll explain what's going to happen next. But Ms. Moore, you have that paper from that I just gave you?
Yeah.
For those who don't believe me, right? And Ms. Moorhead gonna confirm whether I'm speaking the truth or not. Page 8, Ms. Moorhead. Turn to page 8. This is the joint report from 1920, not 1915. This is 1920 after we're already under the American flag.
Yeah.
If you look at it, starting with the quote, it is further provided. Do you see that?
Yeah, that the laws in force at the time of the session shall remain in operation, quote, until Congress shall otherwise provide, close quote.
Keep going. You see where it is. I told you.
There are various other provisions not necessary to specify.
Here it comes, folks.
The government established under this act has continued the system established under Danish rule with little change except in administration.
That's it. Stop right there. There you go. So I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. We're not, they don't have sovereignty over us. We've never been governed. We got duped too.
You're going to the Constitution meeting Saturday?
Well, that's one of the reasons, the third reason why I decided now to drop the hammer. Because when I went there and I saw that there were folks that were telling me stuff that was like unbelievable. And they were literally recognizing American sovereignty, the Constitution and treaties and federal laws. And I knew I had this over 22 years. I said, enough is enough.
That was the day you looked like you were going to explode.
Yes, because of this. Because folks want to be under the U.S. so badly that they would make us a permanent colony.
And I do believe, I hope not Mr. Brown, but I think it's coming.
Yeah, well, not now, because the U.S. isn't going to allow this. That's why I sent it to the governor and the delegate. They took an oath, and that oath clearly states that if stuff like this they have no choice, none. They must move it up to the Interior Department. They must move it to the Intelligence Committee, the Natural Resource Committee, the Foreign Affairs Committee, because this is a violation of the United States Constitution. This is a violation of the treaty agreement. They themselves can get impeached. They can get expelled from office. All of this is well documented. They have no choice.
Well,
And other people that I know listening right now, they already starting to do what they have to do to get it to the right senators and Congress people. So it's over.
You know, Delegate Plaskett might read it, but I don't think a good governor is going to read it because he's on his way out. And really, from what I heard and understand, his behavior was Monday night. I don't think he really cared about nothing.
Well, that's why, God is good, because it didn't go to his hands. It went to legal counsel, Mr.
Yes.
Evangeline. And he has a legal obligation to protect the Constitution and the government of the Virgin Islands. Whether Governor Brown meets with me or not is not relevant at this point in time. Whether Delegate Plaskett meets with me isn't relevant. This is the government and the office of the delegate. So we'll see what they do. I know what I'm doing and my people doing.
I see the governor just simply headstrong and just misleading misinforming us because this thing with Ghana, again, where's Interior?
Well, I think
Yeah.
I think that,
Uh,
but the good side about it, think about it now, Miss Moorhead. And like I said, this is we. Now I have the copyright. So people have been telling me, no, Brown, it's you.
Mhm.
You could say do this, it's gonna be done. But I'm like, no, it's we.
Mhm.
I don't live here by myself.
Right.
The culture, the history, the Quelde, the quadrille,
Mhm.
all of those things is we.
Mhm.
That's who make us who we are. Now, if the Centonians and the St. Jonians want to go, well, we could discuss that. I don't hold on to, but St. Croix is not going to be no colony. They want to leave, they can go.
Yeah.
They want to be a colony, you can go. But I'll tell them something. Two things.
Mhm.
As long as I alive until and 70 years after, and there are discussions going on to extend copyright laws to 100 years, you can't do nothing. Period. Without my estate agreeing to anything. Because this is intellectual property. And I make the claim. That's number one. So that's almost 100 years. And I went for my body work. I got a little elevated pressure. But other than that, I good. My eyesight good, my body good, everything functioning. This Moorhead at 50.
Praise the Lord.
Amen. I feel good, but that's the functioning part. Let me stop there, but listening. So what Mr. Abdul said, Dr. Brown, don't sin. I tell no, don't do that, Mr. Abdul. So yeah, so and I even forget my second one, but it's gonna come back to me. But the reality of it is that the Centonians, oh yes, the Centonians have to realize something. If you jump off and you say, well, we want to be with St. Croix, the blessings that come into St. Croix that I know about, you ain't getting none of that.
They ain't gonna say that, Mr. Brown.
What are they gonna say?
Because the leadership, the people who call themselves leaders, who really are misinforming and misleading,
Yes.
realize that they can't go to a place without St. Croix.
But me and you, we know that.
Okay? They have been trying to tell us for decades that they're good with these cruise ships, but they ain't good. Okay? And for
Far away.
those of you listening, remember how them Centonians ball when events are closed?
Big time.
Ball!
They cry Main
Yeah,
Street. I know that.
And cruise shower one night more, what going on?
Yeah, because they suffered.
You
They
understand?
suffered.
But this is because the Crucians, they realize these were the
Yeah.
misinformed Crucians who didn't know we are the bread basket.
Yeah. St. Thomas, I know people say, man, Brown, that's too far, but St. Thomas may have benefited more from the refinery than us as Crucians.
They did. None may have, they did.
Hmm.
Okay? And
They
I
made
always
a lot
kept
of money.
saying that the taxes from the refinery was a separate account. So you didn't. Senator Berry told me that a time or no?
Yeah,
Serious.
a separate account.
That's why I'm saying
Wow.
when events are closed, that was my one regret that the lady wasn't still alive for me to call her to tell
They
her
cry bad,
what
you know.
going on. But I
They
tell
cry
you,
bad.
yeah,
I could tell you that. They were like,
you know,
even today, they want it open, you know. More than even that vote done settle. Them seven gonna say, we voted yes. Because they voted, I think all of them
I'm
voted
up-
for line 3.
but I'm really up to today because of the misinformation. There are a lot of Crucians who think they were simply being sympathetic with the Crucians. They didn't know that they were seriously hurting.
They were hurting. And then they have to keep in mind this now. And this is the key for the Centomians. They benefited when Cuba, the embargo
Yes.
came.
Yes.
You understand? Because Cuba
Yeah.
was the tourism mecca up until the embargo. Cuba is at a crossroads now where we see what's going on. Those people in Cuba are going to starve. You know,
Yeah.
hard starts next month, the month after.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
And
Cuba will open and St. Thomas will suffer greatly. They're
Yeah.
still going to be a mecca, but not at the rate that they're now because everybody's going to flush to go to Cuba.
well, I think they're thinking that Cuba may not open, especially if they're successful in blocking them and just
you ever
putting
starve
them-
yourself, Miss Mohan?
No,
I've starved myself. 12 days. Remember
So,
that.
yeah.
When you starve yourself,
I remember when you did that.
yeah, when
Yeah.
you starve yourself, you think all kind of things. You do things to people. The good part for me is I could have stopped. You can't stop when they have an armada blocking everything that comes through.
Yeah.
And so at the end of the day, that system is the most cruel, but also the most highly effective to get
Well,
people to do what you want.
And what I'm
And
saying
it's cruel.
is,
I'm not advocating it
I'm
for.
thinking that the business people in St. Thomas are thinking that that is going to benefit them cruise visitors. Why? Because that's why they're not talking about they need more space to accommodate the larger ships.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking that's what they're looking at. But really, again, what the people of St. Thomas are not analyzing is they're only what it is 23 um swift.
28 or something.
Or
I think 29.
you
But let's
know,
say round it to 29.
How many people do you think you can take
Well,
on a
St.
daily
The
basis?
Centomians, I keep saying I love my Centomian brothers and sisters and the St. Johnnians. But the Centomians, let's be real, they love money. They're gonna build another piece of St. Thomas. Find it
Yeah, but
out.
they're
Find the
destroying
people.
their quality of life because when they have this over run of thousands of
Thousands.
people,
You ever been there, Miss Mark,
they
when they
got
got
no.
it's
They got to
People,
stay
Miss Mark.
out of town.
people.
So it's like they have to adjust their whole life to this visitors of cruise ship.
But
So if you increase that, what are you doing to your quality of life?
but here's the piece though, Miss Moorhead. People forget the Centomians have been doing this from the days of the pirates. The pirates used to come there. They know how to make everything work. That's them.
Well,
That's the Centomians.
this is why
They'll find a way.
from the time I was a child and my father's business, our business had a slight interaction with cruise ship because of the liquor business.
Mhm.
You know,
The Bayram, was it Bayram at that
but,
time or just liquor?
not just liquor, but then the one thing we always saw was overnight tourism was always better.
In St. Thomas.
No, in St.
In
Croix,
St. Croix. Okay.
we were not the cruise ship type.
Well, of course.
Okay, we tended to have what the overnight where
Yeah.
people came, spent time, got to know
The people.
the people exactly, and it was not a Russian, and everybody because the money circulated, it spread.
But we've never done what our islands have been designed to do. St. John, because of that history, 1730, is you go over there, you feel this sense of peace and calm, just this tranquil nature. St. Thomas is more like New York. Rush.
Yes.
And St. Croix is the cultural mecca for this territory. We tried to copy each other and do a bunch of nonsense instead of learning from the islands. This is what the island, this is, people, you may think because I do ancestral work. This island is a living, breathing entity. When you see the hurricanes come through, knock down everything, what happens in 4, 5, 6 months? You don't even know a hurricane was there. Because the island is alive, it has its own energy. And when you try to fight that energy, it doesn't work. So St. Thomas is known, like I said, for the days of the pirates, to be a place where people come. The pirates came, St. Thomas and Jamaica drop off the booty. I always tell the Centomians they may have gold still in St. Thomas, believe it or not. Because it was so much that the pirates drop off to St. Thomas. So for them, they just see it. But like I said, when Cuba opens up now, that's going to be a big blow for the Centomians. Now, if the refinery opens up back up, which I don't have any say in that matter, I don't know, well, that's going to be something that's beneficial, but that's still not St. Thomas. They have to diversify financial, transshipment, the cruising. That's going to take a lot of time to be put in place. But, Ms. Moyd, if they want to go, and there's a vote, which may happen, and they say they want to be a colony, then go.
You know, there was a time there around the 80s, I think it was early 90s, when St. Croix, I mean, even in nightlife, you had choices
Yeah, man.
of the places to go, whatever. And it was like after that, it was you that just wiped everything.
You go on crack.
And it's like our leadership made sure to not have certain things returned.
Yeah.
Okay. because we had destination
Right.
tourism. You had, the different places to go and visit and learn the history and get experiential tourism, I think is what they call. And it's like it deliberately was not
But I,
brought back.
but I'll tell you something, folks, and I think all of you will, enjoy this. Remember now, free tuition, the trade zone, all of that stuff I work on with the senators. Senator Carrion and we were working on a sports museum.
Mhm.
But he just told me now look for somebody else. Well, he's not in. I'm not sure if he's gonna run again. He may not. But we were close,
Mhm.
and the issue was funding. I tell him, don't worry, Senator Carrion, the ship's gonna come in. He's like, what ships? The cruise ship? I said, no, the military ships. Before they started, he's like, what are you talking about, Dr. Brown? I said, just trust me. Just put through the legislation. It's gonna go. But he never got to do it. But that's what shocks me.
But
This is the Polly Joseph. Let me say this, man. The Polly Joseph
that's where I
Stadium.
was just going.
All we gotta do is
Mm.
set it up with the DOD, the Department of Defense, and say, listen here, you help us finish this stadium. And when the sailors and all of these folks come in, they could go play lacrosse, by baseball, whatever. We have a joint agreement. It's done.
But the stadium was also to be able to accommodate national teams. They changed the whole plan that it is not going to be up to that standard.
Why?
And
No
then-
way we doing it.
And then the
What?
bill
man.
that was sponsored by Usi Richards to have that facility and the 40 acres behind Claro Marco, okay? They killed that
Yes.
and put the money to UVI to have some kind of facility there that was supposed to deal with the other part of sports like the basketball
Yes.
or whatnot, while the Polly Joseph was to deal with the baseball. It's like the leadership, which controls, yes, folks, with the 8 people in St. Thomas St. John. Okay? And that one good for nothing at large.
Never
The
smiling.
one good for nothing at large that we always get, that always people, yes, they get vote from St. Croix. But check the record.
he's in
They
trouble.
always vote for where they live.
He's in trouble, That's my guy, but
Okay? But I'm talking about
he's
before
he's
him.
in some
I'm
trouble.
talking about the good for nothing white man. What his name was?
Wait.
Passenger. Okay? Yeah.
Passenger.
And even Rocky, that was the problem we fell away with ICA. With people that always end up voting where they live.
Of course. But Ms. Moorhead, you can't expect people not to vote
Yeah.
where they live. That's where they live. That's where they put their head down. You gotta convince them
Yeah.
that if you do
So
this, we gonna vote you out.
So we always have the Sintonians dominating, and
Yes.
they keep the St. Croix down. They don't want us to have Paul E. Joseph to have national teams to be able
Right.
to come.
They ca-
Okay? They don't want us to have that facility that Usi was, that then you wouldn't have the what they call it, what they have every year over there,
Yeah.
the UVI.
But we got the
but
trade zone, Miss
Yeah.
Moorhead. They can't
with the
stop us.
with the college teams.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
No, we're
Paradise
not-
Jam.
And we weren't looking to compete with that. We were talking about NBA.
Well, I know sports tourism is a big thing in Frederickstead.
It was all
And-
set up, but every time the Centurion 8 number always come, then they'll give us the stupidness with Diageo.
Well, the
Yeah.
structure is designed for 8 to 7, The
Right.
structure, you know that, Miss Boyd, it's designed to 8 to
But
7.
the legislature, if the people don't want to support an initiative, which they didn't, people, the legislator, the institution has the right to anytime set up districting however they see it would
Mhm.
work.
And that's why I said what I said, Miss Moorhead, because St. Croix, this may shock you, but I just found this document. And I have said to people all the time, nobody holding back St. Croix anymore. Do you know in 1810, St. Croix, 84 square miles, was wealthier than New York? You want to say again, folks?
I hear you.
1810, St. Croix was wealthier than New York. And many of the wealthiest people in New York married into families here.
Well, like
Yeah, not we married into
Yeah.
them, they married into us.
But it was not just a rumor, like they said that St. Croix was the Garden of the
Oh,
West
of
Indies.
course.
We provided for Denmark and all over.
Norway,
And, you know,
Sweden, all of them
Eh,
Scandinavian countries.
and this is one of the things I'm hearing comment all the time, that the governor made no mention whatsoever of agriculture. People, how you surprised? The agriculture is a hobby. Okay? He want we to be independent food security.
But if you're working with the Guyanese, you have to do that because that's what they're big into. You got to, and that's what we used to be. We used to make more sugar cane, produce more sugar cane and sugar than Jamaica. It's because we don't know our history.
Exactly.
That's the problem.
And we ain't going to know it still because they ain't putting the history
No,
together.
Because there are folks who believe that all they know is the U.S. and the wealth. But I know the history. I know how the U.S. made its money. And I know that there ain't no place better than the Virgin Islands. You understand what I'm saying? But this is what's going to happen next, Ms. Mark. I want to get to your issue with this voting, this paper ballot thing before I go. So folks, you may be listening and some of you terrified. You're like I said, you're telling yourself, this man, yeah, he's smart, but he couldn't be that smart. I'm that smart. Don't insult me. There are people these days want to insult me. That's why this is the last show for me, Miss Mark, because I can't come back on and talk this kind of thing because now that the government of the Virgin Islands and the delegate to Congress office has it, as my legal people have shown me, there's some areas there where all of this was strictly confidential at one time. And since I know, and if I say something wrong, I could get into a lot of trouble. You're not supposed to just say things like that, especially now that it's in the hands of the government of the Virgin Islands and very soon, possibly the United States government. So this is my last show for when I don't know. The next time I might be on, I have to say, is with the Crujan educator. She asked me to come on.
Oh, God, no.
I know that. Oh, Jesus! Yeah. The Crujan educator. The views and opinion expressed by the host and it doesn't reflect the speaker, the management, and the station. So Ms. Bernal Peterson asked me to come on, and I went to tell Ms. Moorhead, I keep my word. As long as people show me respect, there's one program I won't go on because the person says a slave trader. So you don't know I'm going on that program.
But the woman tell you, we are not a colony the other day. I hear her. Are you going to sit down?
Yes.
Okay? And she said, we're not a colony.
Knowledge. Some people don't know, Miss Moorhead. This is what I'm saying. People,
Hello. How could you have gone to college, claim that you graduated summa cum laude and all kind of thing, but you don't understand where a colony? Brown, please.
Because I can only say I don't know.
That's why I said put the MIS in front.
Oh, Jesus. This is the last show for me. This is amazing. But yes, so I will be on. I know she probably listening. Ms. Peterson, I keep in my word, and I don't know when, but definitely yours. And I have to also recognize Brother R, because Brother R has been saying for years now, and I just sit and smile with him. Bro, in my heart, in my spirit, I know we own these islands. Something is telling me we own these islands, and I wouldn't tell him nothing. But Brother R, you were right. You were right, Brother R. So what's come next, Miss Moorhead, is that things aren't going to change. Not now. Because first of all, the government of the United States, the delegates office especially, they're going to have to do an investigation based upon what I'm saying. And like I said, Denmark has to show that that system ended.
Just put a pin there for me, because I want to say to the listening audience, given the information you've received today, and you notice Mr. Brown keep referring to the position of delegate to Congress, make sure you understand to query each and every candidate that is coming in front of you for that position this year. Because if the people, person is not familiar or gives you a type of aptitude that it is not of any importance to them, that cannot be your candidate for the delegate to Congress.
Well, I say this right now, Shelley Moorhead to me leading the pack.
Well,
but right now
he is the best informed.
I mean, like him, dislike him, whatever. I don't know him, but he's the one been talking about this. So there's nobody who can say he's not knowledgeable. He's not just running a campaign to say I want to be delegate. he's talking about the issues that the other candidates are not talking about.
Yes.
So for right now, he may not win. He may win,
And,
but clearly he's very knowledgeable and he's proven it.
This
So-
Louima, that is my nephew, but he is and has been
He has been.
for years, because as a matter of fact, I think when you were out there starving, he
Yeah.
was next to you doing
Yeah, right
something
after.
with
Yeah, like
this-
6 months or so, he was at government house.
yeah, dealing with Denmark
Reparation,
and,
all
yeah,
of these things.
and all these. But folks, there are people who are not interested in our history, and as Dr. Brown is pointing out, you have to know the history.
That's number one. The U.S. didn't know. The U.S. got duped for $1 billion. You know what Trump gonna do to Denmark? He already don't like, and the European Union, all of these people know this, Miss Mark. I went to the UN in 2008 and said, we have a problem. We have a slavery-related issue in violence. And these folks look at me like, who is you? And Denmark, the same foreign minister now, who is prime minister, Mr. Rasmussen, didn't care. The Queen, let me show you, Miss Mark, just to show people that they do know. Her Majesty the Queen has instructed me to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated December 22nd, 2008, concerning your research paper, The History Behind the Transfer of the Danish West Indies. Please be advised that your letter has been forwarded to Ministry of Foreign Affairs at Istikblad 2144 Copenhagen K as the competent authority in such matters. Yours sincerely, Bjørn E. Grønfeldt. January 2009. Dear Edward L. Brown, I would like to thank you for your letter of March 12, 2012. I can inform you that your request has been referred to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Yours sincerely, Peter Lehman Nielsen, personal secretary to the Prime Minister. And then when Prime Minister Rasmussen, who had this the second time, he had Anders Samuelson, Minister for Foreign Affairs. This is a Minister for Foreign Affairs. He wrote to me July 4th, 2017, thanking me about bringing the issue with slavery and the fact that the Prime Minister was here, and he thought that I was at the attendance, but I didn't go.
Did you like to,
But for the
thing.
100-year celebration, I didn't attend that. And so there it is. So here it is. The Danes are telling the Greenlanders, I'm with you, but they're not. They're setting the people up again to get hurt. This is corruption. They're corrupted leadership. I'm not talking about the Danish people, but they're going to suffer for their leadership. You can't take $1 billion from the U.S. and just act like what? And there's no real sovereignty.
which is what we're doing right now.
Exactly. So that's number one, Ms. Moorhead. So the reality of it is too, is, and you just mentioned it, we have an election for delegate to Congress. So people need to pay attention to that and select the right person who's going to address these types of
Because
issues.
for the first time, we have a long list of candidates.
Yes. And the current delegate may run again. Maybe, maybe not. Number two, we have a governing document in the Revised Organic Act. So what I'm trying to tell folks is, even though you're hearing me and you may say, oh my gosh, everything will fall apart. It's not, because we have a judicial branch, we have an executive branch, we have a legislative branch. We have a governing document, we're working on our constitution. All of these things are being put in place. Again, like I said, it's going to take years, maybe 10, 15 years before anything really changes. Meaning that we have, this is the way I see it, Ms. Moorhead, citizens of the Virgin Islands, dual citizens, and those who are citizens of the U.S., that they may live here, but they don't really participate in nothing. And I've said it before, I said it with you. If you're a dual citizen, you should not be able to run for elected office in this territory, and you should not own land. The only people that should own land in this territory, and this is a fact, should be those who are citizens of the Virgin Islands. The people who decided to be here. I don't care if you're from Kenya. I don't care if you're from the Palestinian territory. I don't care if St. Kitts and St. Lucia, wherever. I don't care. Nevis, I don't care. When you say you want to be with us, that means you're a citizen of the Virgin Islands. You want to be a U.S. citizen, go there. Go to the 50 round of 50 states.
This is why in the fifth document that we had, that in order to be a governor, you had to be born in the Virgin Islands. Because that is the thinking that we had.
Right. Well, so why is former Governor DeYoung going to say no? Because this is the reality.
Yeah.
You can't say nothing. You can't say the UN, we're not sovereign with them. We have allegiance with them because, like I said, we've adopted their laws based on the belief that we were governed by them. And I think we're going to continue until we resolve all of this to accept their laws. But at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen because we have to take care of the ones who want to be citizens of here.
The discussion would be much more enlightening if at this time, because it wasn't planned that way and in any way, but it just so happened with the VI history case that, if they were to seriously implement history, real history at this time, by then we would have learned students who understand and then could really participate.
But this is why I'm doing it.
And but
they have to go Denmark. The stuff have to come back. I think they have a Taino ball court. And all of that. The St. Johnians now could sit down and talk with the Park Service and get some of that land for their own people because the U.S. can't tell them how much land no anymore. But they're going to have people who going to fight this.
Brown, we say why, and we're going to be a bigger fight because we're still not educating our children.
That is true.
We miseducating them. That's what they're looking to continue to do.
Well, they're going to have a problem because the truth, they're going to hear, I know what's coming. I know the 6 that the Fed's looking for. I know the 6. I'll stop taking from the chair and see they got a bunch of them get arrested. I tell all why do I tell people I'm always in the room? And they got 6 of them high officials. Your time is running short. I'm not asking you. Stop taking from the children. You're going to go jail and then you're going to go prison. People don't understand something. And I only referencing him because he has been convicted and he's about to serve sentencing. Mr. Calvert White did not just get 5 years. He got 8 years. 5 in prison and 3 on supervised release. Yeah. If he gets a DUI, domestic violence, anything, he could finish out the next 3 in prison. And it doesn't look like he may go to any minimum security facility.
No, they already objected to that.
So and we have my red shoes lady. I told her, listen, I don't talk, nobody gonna do me nothing. I told her you should have gotten sick in the beginning. I didn't say so on your show.
Yeah.
Get sick in the beginning.
Yeah.
Tell them that's what you do. I sick. I pleaded. Cause I sick. I walk with me. You go through it now. You gonna get the book thrown at you.
Yeah, because you cost them
money,
time, and all the research and what
exactly
all the work. Yeah.
And you know who did that? You know who came up with that system? I'm laughing. It's Alexander Hamilton. He designed it with the Whiskey Rebellion, that we will spend $1 million for you taking $100 or $1,000 because we want to send a lesson. Don't do it. And that's exactly what the judge said. That we, the federal government, will spend $1 million to prosecute you for 5 or 10, and then put you in prison to set that example. Now they got 11 to 30 something. What were these people thinking?
I don't know.
What are you thinking?
But this is why we need to be vigilant and serious with our vetting for this next election. Because the point is, we need to stop the run of this corruption in the VI. It needs to stop now.
It has to.
But I'm not seeing it looking to stop.
Listen.
Because we have people who are serious.
Listen.
Who putting the name out for candidates.
I can tell you this without a doubt because I know him. I know him. I telling you today, right? It's one thing when you give somebody a chance in your administration. It's another thing when it's the day-to-day people. I guarantee you, Governor Brand sitting in his chair, looking out that window wherever he is and saying to himself, my God, my God. Because it's embarrassing on a global level. And you got billions of dollars and the people there on the lowest levels are getting involved in the Medicaid fraud or whichever one. Really?
To tell you
really?
I don't think your
No, man.
estimation good enough.
You-
Not after, I mean, I didn't see it, but I'm
He talked
hearing,
about it. He
I'm
talked about it.
hearing people saying that his attitude Monday night was ridiculous.
Well,
Comical, carefree, whatever, you know.
because Albert Bryan Jr. I've said it many times, Mr. Moorhead. The Titanic is going down. People are screaming. Albert Bryan Jr. is going to grab the mic and tell the band, strike up a song. And everybody's going to turn around and he's going to be there. He's going to smile. He's going to say, we all take a selfie. We're all getting off the boat. Let's just sing for the minute and we're going to get off the boat. And 99% of people are going to watch him and say, yes. Then they got the one in the back who going to scream, we all going to die. Run. Because they're pessimistic. People don't remember them. But
he isn't he out thing with the life jacket and everything.
Well, that's why, because he gonna make you feel
Next thing to put on soon as
But
he
this
finish start.
this is what I'm saying. Now they got the people like me, who is a realist, who's gonna tell you some of us gonna die. It may be me too. But who are we gonna decide to go? We're gonna do the women, the children, the seniors. How are we gonna do this? People are gonna scream and not want to do it because I'm forcing you, just like I those right now, who don't want to hear what I just said. They believe in their heart, this man is wrong. He's wrong. We've been with the US 109 years. How could he have found this out? He's wrong. They're telling themselves that, but deep down they know this man is right. So that's why Albert Bryan is the way he is. He has always been an optimist. He's never going to tell you the ship is sinking and you're going to die. It's not in him. So that's why when you see him that night, Monday, I didn't watch it either, but I know what was coming. He gonna focus on the 7 years and this last year. But I'm telling you, folks, everybody in the girl, I am telling you, after today, you may see the Albert Bryan that I know. Maybe not because he almost done, but he can't take too much more of this, man. This is getting to a point where it's just being ridiculous. And he's gonna have to micromanage. And when he micromanages, the people are not gonna like it. He's brutal. He'll come in your office. I've seen him come in your office and be like, what are you doing? Tell me what you're doing. You doing the right thing? And they're going to grumble and grumble. And he'll tell them, don't grumble. Don't grumble. That's how he is. I can't believe how he let things get so bad.
And that is the part that...
No, come on, my boy. That's my boy. Yeah, that's the guy. Come on, man. You got to get the same way he talking about the BBI, which I agree with. You come at us, we have to come back at you. In the same way you got to deal with the people in your administration. You can't just let them run nilly-willy.
But I just think it's just that power is just controlling him. He's all about power. But it's not.
But look, so his administration may go down, yes, as one of the best economically, but one of the most corrupt. They still got cases out there that the sentencing. You still have the Charlemagne case, and you still got more. Come on.
And as long as it doesn't touch him, I don't see that he's going to necessarily care.
I disagree, Ms. Moore. I think he's going to put out something in the next week or two, and he's going to really tell he ain't playing with that no more. He has to do something. He can't just sit here and see people getting arrested, high level, low level, middle level. He can't do that. What do you mean, why not? Then what kind of leader are you?
The kind that is going to dictate how his, what you call it, that's the thing, his documentary is going to say and what is going to reveal. He's already
going there.
Because he already pointed out that he come from some what do you want to call it?
He from Savannah?
I don't know.
I think he's from Savannah.
But
I'm not sorry, Governor.
He's painting himself as someone who came from this seriously disadvantaged household.
Yes.
Yeah. When he went to he come over and went to where the fetching school name up there up the road.
Was St. Dunstan?
Yeah.
He went to St. Dunstan?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
He went St. Dunstan. How many people could afford to go to St. Dunstan?
Timmy went St. Dunstan.
St. Dunstan's for the private school.
That back then, yeah. Timmy went there. I heard it was a good back then was a really good school.
You know, but I mean it was costly. You know? So I mean, you know, and you want to paint your life story as something from rags to riches? No. No.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's the perception I'm getting. You know, he's because he's talking about He didn't even have telephone. He had to go to somebody's house or use
Yes.
or something else. Hello.
That's most of us.
Thank you. That's my point.
That's most of us.
So don't put yourself out there as an example when this was what it was. Like you do something fantastic.
Well, let's see what the document. Well, first of all, I think the legislature, done in the legislature, have to approve this $100 and something thousand dollars.
No, because
it went through the process.
if his office has that money available
For the office
in
of the
his
governor,
budget,
right?
he can use it. And
Yes.
that is why the legislature was supposed to intervene from the giddy up and not let a request for proposal go out, because that is specified. That is my annual tax money that is going to be, and people I ain't never see. I don't get no tax refund. I don't know what I look like long time. Okay, I pay taxes every fetching year. So my thing is, I don't look for my taxes to think about the documentary, because all the other governors, WTJX, put them together. So why he got to be different? Because he want to tell the story how he want, not with the actual history that the WTJX would come with. That's the whole thing.
They cover the good, the bad. No, they cover the great, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly.
Exactly.
It's fair. They do it.
And he going down leave the ugly out, except for the fact that he was poor and now he's rich.
And that's not good if that happens, because you should talk about the corruption. I would, if I was governor, because that teaches the children, this is what happens. This is what happens when you have friendship with people that you really think behind on you, and then they're out to stab you in the back. And that's why you have to vet people, not because you have a sign say, I am for Edward Brown. That means you won't get to be commissioner or something.
Hello.
Because look at what's happening.
When he gave his commissioners the raises in the October or the summertime time, and then come December, he took the 25 million that was itemized for to pay retro to retirees. He gave the instruction, had to give the approval to his director of finance, or the what they OMBOM, with the girl
Yeah.
to take that money to make up the payroll after he increased the salaries to cause the payroll to be out of reach. So don't tell me that he ain't got nothing to do with the corruption.
You see that as a corrupt act.
I see it. I saving the own behind, throwing everybody else under the bus.
Okay.
And they were stupid, because the point is you in charge, regardless of, just like when the mainland where they're talking about, those congressmen had to go and don't tell the soldiers then, don't follow
Honest.
on exactly
Which
that
is-
is not lawful.
Right.
Okay? The same thing go with any institution in government. So therefore, the lady had a choice to say no. But my point is, he had to be the one to say, do it, for it to be done. So don't fetch and free him of any corruption. All right, he got been.
Okay. Again, the views and opinions expressed by we always say that.
Definitely is
You know?
mine.
So let me finish this up, folks. I want to get to the issue with the voting this morning, just for my own clarity. Congress is making us U.S. citizens. We're still U.S. citizens because Congress is the body that deals with the territories. Article 4, Section 3, Clause 2. And Congress willingly gave us that citizenship. So even though they don't have sovereignty over us, and even though we've not consented, until Congress passes legislation to take away that citizenship, which they will not do, not now at least, that's not an issue.
Because I want to know how you're saying they will not do.
Eventually, like I said,
Because you have a president there that, I mean, he doing a whole heap of things, and he telling them to do things that ain't necessarily right. And you just admit that he got problem with the fact that what our delegate to Congress did in her involvement with his impeachments.
yeah, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, these things will take some time.
And the man is all about vengeance.
But he
You
said that.
understand?
So, but these things will take time, and like I said, you got to work all of this stuff out. But as of today, we're still, U.S. citizens. Contracts and any future contracts that will occur, they're still valid. The government of the Virgin Islands is still the government of the Virgin Islands. That's not going to change. And because we're not sovereign, and because we are not consented, we still could do that because we
But
have to figure out.
he could have involved us in that thing that's going on with the birthright, because he could
Yes.
have said
Yes, he
that
could.
anyone born after a certain date is
That's the
does not no longer get just automatic citizenship.
Right. But remember, that birthright citizenship applies to folks, let's say, from the
Yeah.
Dominican Republic, from
Understood.
Turkey, from Sudan, and those
Yeah.
places. Because we're U.S. citizens, that gives us an advantage from being from birth. And that's the law, the way the law has been written
But
in
I'm saying he
1950.
could have changed.
But he could change anything. That's what I'm saying.
And
Things,
I'm just letting
yeah,
because there
people
are
don't know.
Yes, and there are people who would want to, because they don't want to say that can't never happen. So just
It's
want
happening.
people to understand.
It's happening because look, they're 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds that are getting deported.
And there
And
was
they're
a
U.S.
story.
citizens. They're
There
US
was
citizens.
there was a story the other day about a couple in a family in Puerto Rico
Mhm.
that was denied to board the flight from Puerto Rico because they had a child who did not have papers.
Oh, wow. Where did child come from? Another
Okay.
foreign country?
No, supposedly Puerto Rico, but they
Oh,
they
wow.
were going to California, and it wasn't supposed to apply, but seemingly they didn't let them board
Wow.
because of the child.
I think that birthright citizenship case is going to go in President Trump's favor. I won't say why. I won't say something. See why? That's why I said, folks, I shouldn't talk, because I was just about to say why I think so, and I have people listening all around the world right now. So let me keep that to myself.
Vengeance.
Yes, yes. And so, and again, the Sixth Constitutional Convention, because they're going to put the language in, as you know, Ms. Moorhead, and they're going to, even though some of them may be listening right now, they already made some decisions, and there are those who will stick with those decisions. And unless Congress says we're going to take that out, which they have to take it out, we're not under their
Well,
sovereignty.
if they don't put it tonight, for one, tell people don't vote for that, vote for nothing.
And this is the danger, because we
Guys,
need that.
You see one of the fellows running for Senate,
But I had said that.
and
What do you think? What do you
he
think?
was the one that tell you that today.
Well, he was, yeah, but he was good. He was good. He said like
He got
like
good.
some others. Let me say it like that.
Well, however, he said it.
He kind of
He
say.
said it.
But this is what people are now saying. People running for office, they're using the Constitution, all kind of things. They don't
Because,
matter to me, you
because
know.
their name has become known.
Well known, and people have been doing that for decades. But that part of the public law that doesn't apply to us. But they're going to put it forward. They know that, they listen right now at this moment. The people who are listening, there are those who are like, I don't want to hear what Dr. Brown is saying because I want to be under the U.S. no matter if it's a colony. And what he's saying may be true, but I am going to use every muscle in my body to fight against him with this. How can you beat me?
It is
How?
true.
How can you beat
But
me?
and
You can't.
and I know there are people who be offended with that, but that position I hear mostly from people who are mostly naturalized, and I got a problem with it because they will then have that second passport, and they will, and they're
That's
the
what I'm
ones
saying.
that you will hear saying Christmas and whatnot or whatever are going home.
Well,
They're
that's what I'm
naturalized
saying.
and U.S. citizens. They're going home, but then they're messing with our
But all of that gonna stop.
but
All of it gonna stop.
it's not.
You're going to have to make a choice in the
But
next
this is
7
why
to
it is
15 years.
important that we educate our people.
But you
that
gotta
we're
know-
not doing.
But this point, keep in mind this: who's going to educate them when you don't have the documentation? I got all of this over 22 years. When you're sleeping, when others sleeping, I'm up doing work. You have to have that level of dedication. That's going to take years. But to what you're saying, all the people who are naturalized and U.S. citizens from the mainland, you live here in the Virgin Islands because
Yeah.
we allow you. Not because you have the protection of the U.S. We, the native born people, the long time people see themselves as citizens of the world, we allow you.
And then you know
Don't
what
disrespect us.
you know what it
We
do
allow
in
you.
addition, when they have their offspring, their children, they introduce them to being beholden to their birthplace.
Yes, yes,
Okay?
that happens.
And I hear
I
them all the
haven't-
time saying Virgin Islanders are in a minority. What happened to all them New Virgin Islanders?
When you say New Virgin Islands, what do you mean?
Well, their parents are naturalized citizens.
Yeah, you mean the children?
Yeah, the children.
Okay.
Nobody seems to want to refer to them as Virgin Island, native Virgin
Then
Islanders.
I'm a native
You
Virgin
know,
Islander.
but they don't know because I hear people all the time, unnaturalized citizens saying, "Oh, well, the Virgin Island, you don't have no more native Virgin much
What do you mean you're
anymore."
not a native?
That's what it does say. You don't hear them wrong.
I hear everything.
And
That's
I
why-
wonder then what are they calling their children?
But this is why I said what I said in regards to dropping the hammer now. I could have dropped the hammer 2 weeks ago. But and my friends and the people that deal with me were like very upset with me. They were like, Brown, we don't do that, you know better than anyone. We dropping the hammer now. I'm like, no, I gotta give the delegate and the governor some time. I gotta give my good friend Carol Bach some time. I gotta give them some time to show they're gonna do the right thing because I'm not about to tear down my leadership for this as much as because it's gonna still happen. And then all of a sudden, I got nervous because there's another side to this, another side with very powerful people that wanted their way to work. And then the Lord came through and the Lord humbled all of that war, WAR, the war talk, and now they're into exactly why I am here today.
And then
So-
you listen to Carol Buck testifying, talking about all the corruption they're setting up so they could control who come.
Okay, so let me stop that for the moment, folks. We done with that talk, right? What's your one question? Do you have one question for me, Miss Moorhead, or you don't? You ain't got no questions, so that's it, folks. So let's go to this issue. Somebody calling?
Somebody online.
Okay,
too.
so
Let me see.
you will see. Okay,
Good afternoon and welcome.
Good day. How are you, baby?
good.
I am blessed, thank you. I hope you are same. It's voice sound a little familiar.
Well, here's anything to you, baby. But I have a quick question for Mr. Brown
Uh-huh.
in terms of his path that he's on. In terms of us as Virgin Islands passport, we should be getting or have our own, passport for the Virgin Islands, so we could make that money for the local.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of that.
So,
Sorry, go ahead. I apologize.
so I was just wondering about that, the passport, that we should have our own passport,
Yeah,
and we should be able to make that money off of that.
yeah. Well, what I think is going to happen, I already started talking to some folks already. There are people in Congress who know the history, not as detail. This is the first time I'm really telling the history in detail, but there are members of Congress that have some idea. John Lewis had that before he passed away. I went up to Washington, talked to him, Ms. Bardalo, people for John Conyers. We already had a plan how to address all of this, and that was many years ago. But what I see happening is that we still don't have the passport until everything is worked out. To your question about the BI passport, that has to happen. There's a compact. If the people of the Virgin Islands decide we want a compact, meaning free association, then that's one aspect. If we want to be fully independent and do everything ourselves, which I do not support, then that leads to something else. But there may be those who have dual citizenship, where they may have a U.S. passport and a VI passport. So you're going to have a situation where you have folks may have, like me, just a VI passport. You may have those that have a U.S. passport and a VI passport, and then you have those that just have the U.S. passport, but they live here. But they don't really, they just live here. So that's what I see happening, to be fair to everybody. Because nothing is going to change. Let me say this, folks. You have your property, don't worry about that. Nobody's coming in to take your property. Nobody's coming in to do anything to you. All of that will not happen because we have a structural government that has laws and a judicial system with a superior court and a Supreme Court. So this is not an issue, folks, in regards to the sovereignty and the consent that anybody has to worry about right now about, oh, I'm going to lose this or lose that. No, you're not going to lose anything. You're not going to lose your passport. You're not going to do anything. This is something that will be worked on at a very high level till we all decide how this is going to look. The only issue, Carla, is whether the Santonians and the St. Jonians want to stay with those of us who are Crucians, because I am not going to have no discussion about selling St. Croix to nobody.
Right, because that contract that is in play, but you have something going on in regards to that legal aspect of the
Yes.
transfer.
Yes.
Thank you for sharing that. I was just wondering about because you're referencing to all of these things in terms of apostasy. That's what it's referencing to.
Right, citizenship, yeah.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'll be blessed.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, all
Yeah,
right.
and the programs that are there, if we went to free association, because I highly doubt.
We have to go to free
We have-
association.
that's it.
We're not doing anything that even is the beginning to lead to
Yeah,
independence.
that's-
You have to go to.
We not-
have
we-
no
we
choice.
don't
We
have
to
the
go to
food
free
supply.
association.
We
Yeah.
don't. We certainly cannot protect the Virgin Islands.
No.
But
No.
the U.S. sure it can, and the U.S. will, because the U.S. has said we're the closest. You think about it, we're even closer than Greenland.
Yeah.
We're strategically more important in that sense than Greenland. They thought they had taken care of this until Denmark duped them for $1 billion. I still can't get over that. They duped the U for $1 billion. Trump is going to explode. He don't like them. And we don't like them now because all the things they did. Remember you talked about, oh yeah, the infant mortality. Remember the picture you said where all these children, and you were like, wow, these black children there, they were at Queen Louise. But they, because of that serfdom, the infant mortality just went up. They forced the men, the women, the older children to work, and they left the newborns and the infants in the house, in the hut.
Yeah.
Some women, like I said, took up the infants and went in the bush, never to be seen again. Don't know if they escaped or they died, but some of them were like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to leave my infant to die. And went in the bush. Many of them died. This is how horrific it was. And they knew it.
Yeah.
These are bad people,
Mhm.
corrupted. Don't tell me forgive them. Tell me let them apologize, and then I might get to the point of forgiving them. But you can't forgive people who do those things and cannot say, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can't forgive.
No, you can't. That's how I feel.
I
So-
agree with you on that one.
So this thing with the voting now, tell me what the issue is. What's the problem?
I really don't know.
You want a
No
paper
vote.
ballot to be put in a box
Uh-huh.
that is designed the way it is when you put it in the machine together. You want it to be counted by somebody after you put it in a box and it's locked.
No. I want that the paper ballot
Yes,
is going to be in a box, and that's simply because it's kept separate
yes,
from any other. Because there are people who will take the paper ballot and might say, well, I want it to go in the machine. You have that choice.
right.
But my thing is, the whole thing with paper ballot, the process is because you vote in paper because you don't want anything to go to the machine. And folks, I must distinguish that there are two types of paper, because there's what they call the paper card. It was a long elongated type of a thing,
Uh-huh.
that oh Lord, I can't think of something that
Because you reminded everybody you remember back when it was just
Yeah.
paper.
exactly. And I remember how it was done. And I had a problem because Raymond mentioned that he dealt with counting votes for paper ballot. But that was before they had what they call the
tractor something?
the calculator, whatever the machine that would count the ballots when you put it in. The tabulator, that's the word they call it. Okay. And that before you had the tabulator, you had paper votes to ballots to count because you were getting ballots in the mail
Right, like in Colorado, I voted in the mail.
from people. No, I talking about from people in the States
Right,
going to
right,
school
right.
or going in the
Right,
service
mail,
and
right.
stuff like that.
Right, the mail.
Those paper ballots came, but at that time was your subtronic or what it was, and you didn't have the tabulator. It was just that subtronic where you went and you push on the voting machine itself and it did the whole thing. So when those absentee votes came in, ballots came in, well, the board would sit, it would specify days that everybody would come, and the chairman would sit down here, call out the votes on the paper ballot, and the board members would sit and tally the votes. That's not the same thing as when it was only paper ballots and no machine at all.
Right.
Because when that was, you had training of the people. They knew how to do, and you had a younger set of people.
So let me ask this
When the
question.
board, let me finish on,
Okay,
because when
go
the
ahead.
board did the counting with the
That's what
absentee,
I'm asking.
okay, you had members who was addicted to cigarette and had to get up every half an hour to go outside or smoke. Okay? You had members who had whatever medical problem and had to go to the bathroom every hour. You had
These things happen.
members
These things
who
happen.
I'm
Yes.
talking about, you had members who were up in age.
Yes, I know.
Okay? And they weren't trained to do nothing other than yes, they sit down there with a piece of paper and they know they putting on them and they watching and they eating and they drinking, and if somebody walk in the door, they watching out. And I used to be there watching them from beginning to end. So I know what Raymond is referring to, and it's not what I was talking about when there were no machines at all and things were done at the polling center. At the poll, wherever the different schools where we used to go to vote, Alexander Henderson, Claude, or whatever, when the place closed at 7 o'clock, they ate their dinner because they were given dinner also. And when they finished with the dinner, put it aside, clean up, then they started taking out the ballots, counting them, putting them in stack of 25 or whatever. Then the judge would sit down and the brothers would sit around a table. They had a big spreadsheet because whole one side was all the names of the candidates that were running for the different positions. And he would hold the ballot, call out Smith one, Jane one, whatever, and you put your little mark to think, but that is the only focus right there. That was the only thing happening. That wasn't the same thing as what Raymond was talking about with the absentee ballots, what was going on in the election office.
But this is still strange to me because the absentees counted by hand, right? By people that.
Yes.
Okay. So if what you're saying, which for some people, let's say 1,000 out of all the registered people, what's the difference between that and the absentee? You count all of them at the one time, right, Ms. Moore? Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, but you see, you got people who, one, they're saying they want machine to type faster.
What?
Okay?
No,
And
people.
two, they're saying they want machine because
No.
as they see it, it's more accurate. But yet you have computer technicians who saying, I can write an algorithm to give you anything you
Anything,
want.
of course.
They're negating that.
8-year-olds could do
They're
algorithms.
negating that. They ain't entertaining that.
But this is what I'm
Okay.
saying, Ms. Moorhead. At the end of I believe the election system is fair. Most of the time when people lose is when they complain. But if there are folks that are saying, I don't trust this, what is wrong in making it so that the people what you're advocating, there is that system with absentee. If it's 1,000 or 2,000, so what? We need to make the process fair, not the process fast.
Well,
Fast over fair?
well, Mr. Brown,
That's not the way it
I
works.
wasn't into the part of saying the machines are fair, but I am beginning to have to make that thing
You have doubts.
because why is it you want to insist that everybody use a machine?
But most people around the world don't use machines. Most people around the world still use paper ballots.
Well, that's a lie they tell the Friday too.
No, that's a fact I'm
They're
saying.
pointing out that what we are asking for is something totally different.
Maybe
to
they
what happens
misunderstood.
No, they didn't misunderstand that.
Because
Look,
that don't
They
make
had
sense to
like
me.
and done fine Friday. No.
I could see why you might have got frustrated because that's not accurate.
I mean, and I got
that's why I came to talk
I
to you
got
now.
frustrated because most of the lies were coming from senators. I could not believe that senators would sit there. Naturally, you know,
They ain't gonna vote against you. No?
they're immune, but they would sit there and tell actual lies. And this is from people like Volkers, who was he was a deputy supervisor in the election system
Because they
in
want
St. Thomas.
people want the process to
Okay?
be fast. That's
And
not.
people like Carla Joseph, who was a member of the board of elections.
Well, I've always told you, Miss Moorhead, when you're ignorant, and I don't mean ignorant like you're just ignorant, when you don't know the facts, you go for anything. You see what happened when the Republican state chair didn't show up and people popping off, and Miss Halliger and Frankie Johnson tell them the people don't have to show up.
Thank you.
That whole process to be that discussion, they make no sense.
But,
You can't make
but here's the
Republicans
problem.
let me show up.
Did you hear one senator say that he have to show up?
You don't have
They
to.
actually let
And
a
he said so.
motion.
He said
They
so.
actually let Mr. Santa Carla Joseph make a motion to subpoena the man.
Then that's and
Okay.
he tell them I ain't coming.
When the chair, no, but let's be fair, bro. And I know, yeah, the man might vote against my thing next month, but hello, the chair was supposed to say your motion is out of order because we cannot subpoena this man of a private party to come in front of us.
Cannot.
It never happened.
Cannot.
And this is how we misinform the public.
When I was there as executive director, that was one of the things I told the party, we ain't doing no more.
Yeah.
That started when John and I, even when Herb was there, I said, Herb, we don't have to tell them nothing. Why are we going to the meetings and telling them anything? We ran our caucus because I was there with paper ballot in a box.
But
I was there and we had people there to monitor the box. This was under Herb. And when John came in, John was like, John Cannigator, we ain't really going through this anymore, going to talk. And then Mr. Ackley, I think, is the one who came up with the case and not John, or he's the one is the state chair. But this started back when with Herb and when I was there, and then John, we weren't going to keep going to talk about what we're doing as an internal party.
Then
That's insane. That's insane.
You had them spend at least an hour, I think, going back and forth with Carol, repeatedly stating that, yeah, the next step is we got to meet with the supervisor. Why the hell you got to meet with the supervisor when the judge said it's your thing?
It's your thing.
And that
Carol was nice to
and
them.
again,
Carol was nice
the
to them.
chair did not correct the
But does the chair,
misinformation.
the chair know to correct the misinformation?
Hold on.
I have to ask these questions.
I
Let's go
got to
ahead.
correct Brown with this one.
Okay, tell me.
Because the chair is Avery Lewis.
I know who it is.
Okay? Former president of the AFT in St. Thomas.
Yes.
Okay? Former, what they call it? Administrator for St. Thomas, St. John District.
Yes.
You want to tell me this man ignorant, sir?
He might be. He might be. I understand with that. Because I saw when he was talking about the motion and he was upset too that John didn't show up to have the discussion. And I'm sitting there like, am I really watching this? You can't make any of us as Republicans show up and tell you nothing. That's a power move that you don't have.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I'm being honest. I saw it that he was going along because, hello, what is the registration of all of them?
Democrats?
Yeah.
But
Every
I
last
don't-
one of them.
But Carol was there.
Yeah, but you're going to go against your district direct
The state chairperson.
Exactly.
Did Carol say anything about he having to be there? I didn't
But
see.
I mean, hello.
Carol said John needed to be there. I don't remember. I just asking you if you would. Do you remember? I don't think she said anything about the Republicans, but I could be wrong. She could call up. She probably listening.
I can't remember.
No, because Carol know that John don't have to show up. Carol did that out the kindness of her heart. Carol don't have to talk about nothing. That's internal to the Democratic Party.
But still, Miss Carla Joseph is Democrat.
Yeah, but what did they
Okay,
prove?
listen. But my thing is, they either see those games play that people don't correct something because they're all part of the same group.
Yeah, but then you look like you're not knowledgeable, just like you just said.
No.
You don't think so?
Not if the majority of the community is ignorant.
Mm.
And this is why I always remind people, because of the deficiency of our public
Civics.
education system,
Civics.
we have the majority of our community is ignorant to the civics, to even the function of our three branches and their officers.
Right, because
So you can get away with anything because people don't know better. And this is why on this program, even when people call and they look to make a statement that ain't right, I correct them because I am trying to make sure our people
now
know.
you better know now.
You got to know, especially this year.
But they're not going to vote against that whole issue, Miss Moore. That's not really an issue. And I heard Mr. Williams mention again. I have always said this, and it upsets me. The legislature is the body that makes the law, and they have folks over the decades that I've been back keep saying we can't legislate. That's nonsense. You make the laws. You can make any law. You can pass laws to deal with crime, with anything.
And Mr. Raymond Williams,
And he's right. Raymond was right.
When questioned, in the end, he did say, if you pass it,
we will follow.
We will execute it. And even President Senator Pata asked him if they could put it in, and he said yes, they can.
Of course,
but because it don't take all it takes. The only thing different they would look to do is to educate, to train the workers who would have to do the tallying.
That's it.
That's it.
That's not hard. He did it to the Republicans.
Now you have people like Senator
Bogus again.
Biden talking about his experience with a church or something, doing some kind of election. And Carla Joseph to talk about what these people don't understand is if you just put some people to run an election and give them a piece of paper to them, hello, everybody needs training.
This is
so
true.
How can you take something that happened regard with absolutely no training to compare it to a situation where training would take place?
And there are companies and people out there, different groups that deal with election that train people how to count paper ballots because it's tedious. But they train people to make it go faster because there's certain things that you just look for. Remember that guy in Florida when they had Bush and Gore, and the guy was looking up at the paper ballot and looking to see the indentation and all of these things. We've had people come from the mainland when I was there to be a part of our voting process, young people who they get into the election system on the mainland that they did here to get that experience. So this is not hard.
The bill was held, and there will be
pass.
There will be a meeting because it got to be in February.
It's more headed.
It has to meet the 6-month deadline.
It's going to pass. There's not one senator in St. Croix, especially, who can vote against you. You know it, and I know it. That's political suicide.
I asked him who have any contact with Senator Noel Francis to speak to him because the man pissed me off.
But he running for lieutenant governor, right?
No, yes.
So he ain't gonna mess with you, Miss Warhead. You know that.
But he did already.
Oh.
Because when he started with his time to speak, the first thing he says is, "This is just a knee-jerk idea, piecemeal." Now, I said,
that's why you said that. I'm gonna get you in trouble.
I thinking to myself, this man ain't read my testimony. He ain't here when I said, because I went back to point out historically how my involvement with the Board of Election going all the way back to 2002 when I retired, and even before that when I was a teacher and used to make sure that students was ready when they came with the registration fare to school, to show that I have been invested in, so to speak, in the election system.
We all know that.
But the man said, knee-jerk.
And that make you
piecemeal. Hello.
That's what get you all upset.
I hope I said it's synchronized.
Yeah, your hand waving. You got your hand up on your face.
Nobody recognizes you. And the president, Sergeant Arms telling me, they went call, only call, and here they got question. I said, so why be here? Mommy? Yeah, you know? But I just supposed to sit on here?
But this is not really an issue because at the end of the day, most of the elections here aren't really finalized until the absentees are counted, right?
Yeah.
So if you want 1,000 or 2,000 more ballots added in with those who put it in the box, if you even get 2,000, how does that impact anything that night? You're still not gonna get the final official result.
But you see,
that don't make no sense.
It don't make that sense to me because my thing is, what's the big thing about knowing who win right away?
That's what I'm saying.
You don't get the position for another 2 months.
That's what I'm saying.
And the longest that it could take is maybe a day.
Right.
But the point is, nothing gets certified until I think it's at least a week and a half or 2 weeks after.
That's what I'm saying. It's a non-issue.
But again, Brown, it is the ignorance of the people that we play on.
I believe in free and fair elections, and I don't see this as no issue that to say somebody wants to be able to vote paper all the way and not a machine.
The people
we did it in the Republican Party.
They come with opposition, with statements that play on the ignorance of the masses. You know what Fonseca said? Oh, well, I see a problem because now you got to design the ballot.
What? What?
You got to print the ballot. And I sit in there.
But in the same ballot?
Hello.
I'm confused.
Okay? That man raised my blood pressure sky.
My good.
Okay?
Wow.
God, my thinking, didn't you hear them say they have paper ballots anyway? It's designed every election. You design paper ballot. Every election you print paper ballot because every election, whoever asks for a paper ballot got to get a paper ballot. The only thing we haven't been done in is counting the votes of the paper ballot by hand. That's the only thing we haven't been doing.
And you want to see that done?
That's it.
My good God. And this is an issue. And you know the thing about it is, Miss Martin, let me say this, right? Because the last time I was on, you talked about Irby Ali. In the 90s, Irby Ali was never going to be governor. Never. In the 1960s, they had issues with the Democratic Party and the Unity Party. And the people in Congress came down here to the Virgin Islands. They actually came to look for Irby Ali. In the testimony, they said, we want him. We want him because we're tired of getting all of these affidavits that appear to be legitimate from people in the Virgin Islands who are complaining about the election system and all the rigging and the pledges that people have to do. And we're tired of it. And Irby Otley was not there. Irby Otley sent, in his behalf, Senator Alexander Farley. I didn't even know there was a term Croyan. He said his wife was a Croyan, not Crujan, Croyan. Croxian, Croyan. And Irby Otley had apparently some eye issues. This is all in the testimony. And they started going into the election system and how it is that things are being done here and the division. And Randy Lugo was there. He was national committee man for the Democratic Party. And you know what they told Randy Lugo? This is why I talk about, folks, everything I connect about if I don't get the help to address this issue. You know what they told Randy Lugo? We'll shut everything down. And one of them asked, if you want us, Mr. DeLugo, to shut down your government, do you want us, Mr. DeLugo, to come in and run everything for you guys? What do you say, Mr. DeLugo? Mr. DeLugo said, no, sir, I don't think we're gonna want that. He said, no, you don't think you want that? Mr. DeLugo said, no, we don't want that. He said, no, you don't want that. But I think the guy said, I think you guys are going to take care of the problem now, right? And Mr. DeLugo said, yes, sir, we're going to take care of the problem. Thus came the supervisor of election.
I'm looking here because
you gotta know the history.
I'm so sorry I didn't bring the book, but I did.
He said he was never going to win.
I did flip, but
he wrote that, but he wasn't gonna win.
But he did write that was a regret that he didn't run.
He could have said so, but they weren't gonna let him be governor. They weren't gonna let, and I'm not talking bad about Irby Ali. I'm talking about what the people in Congress said about what happened with the election system. To tie into now, we need to make free and fair elections. And Mr. Williams, Raymond Williams said ain't a problem for him. So I don't understand why it seems to be a problem.
I saw just recently, and I was wondering if it was an old thing from Jimmy O'Brien. I think it was pointing out of the passing of Irby Otley's widow.
Oh yeah,
recently.
Okay.
Yeah. So I said, and I didn't even know the lady was still alive. She had to be quite up in age.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, he did a lot of good. I'm not. That's why I know the history. He did a lot of good, but as he said too, the federal involvement and the federal programs that came, and the dependency that we as a people developed, he didn't like that. I think he wrote about that too. He didn't like it.
And in addition, he points out that his biggest regret was the failure to lead the fight for greater self-government.
Yes.
Okay. But another regret was setting up the one party dominant
Yes, it has come back to haunt
because he
us.
said it's a problem that we will never recover from
And we
unless
haven't.
because
We haven't.
nobody wants to change it.
No.
And that's why I was pointing out that the legislature has the authority to change it.
Because look at
And you have people who are political science majors who want to say that structure of the legislature isn't necessary. Now,
what
kind of political science and
structure the
and
legislature.
now they're studying more.
Listen, people, we gotta let people that really aren't going to play games with your knowledge and educate you. I
No,
mean,
but
you know what I'm
I
saying?
say because everybody can, and I want them to remember, when that reapportionment initiative was out there,
Yes.
that was the first time that Senator, because she was Senator then,
I know you're coming. I
Senator
know.
Janelle Sarro
I know you're coming.
called this very station to put her opposition publicly on somebody's talk show. And she did it several times.
I don't know. I know.
Okay? And now the woman wants to be part of the institution that's founded on structure.
It's a race for delegates, you know. Everybody got problems and everybody got the
Well,
strength.
you can't tell me I
But
want
you
to
don't
be a
tell her, you
delegate.
don't say you didn't want it on your program. You don't say that before anything. You don't say you didn't want it on your program, Miss Moore. But you're gonna maybe have to bring it on.
Well, they got plenty other programs in SDS.
But you should bring her on, Miss
No,
Moore.
no.
That's when you're gonna that's when you're going to challenge her and see
I
if she's
guess-
ready.
Mr. Brown, maybe you didn't see that
Right.
that hearing when my brother and I
did.
spent our money
I did.
two times
Yes.
because we went to St. John
Yes.
and then afterwards we said, well, give them a next
Just
chance.
chance.
And we went to St. Thomas. Okay? And our own money.
I know.
And we ain't got it like that. To then have President Byron Jackson in the well, because they brought us into the well and we went up by his presidential area there, for he to promise whenever you want to have to say something, just raise your hand, I'll call on you. Maria and I thought, well, okay, that's a good thing. Well, we raised our wrist down there, broke.
No call.
He ain't call on we. If anything,
See,
all he said was,
That's sad.
when the round of the, let's say, all the senators is concluded, I will give you a few minutes to comment. That's when, and it wasn't by any signal, I grabbed my bag and Mario pushed back his chair and we left the well. We didn't even ask to be excused because we ain't come there by nobody invitation. We asked to come to provide clarity.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've
And
never
that
had
is-
those experiences. Only one time here, but all the time I've
But this
testified,
is,
I've never
but
had
Mr.
those.
Brown, you got to understand, this
Mhm.
is the way people get when they feel their positions are threatened, their advantages,
Well, I know
their opportunities are threatened.
Threatened. I know
Because people, I'm saying this, what y'all don't realize, because we can't hold the senators accountable, because they're 7 to 1 district, they have the advantage all the time. And Earl Ackley acknowledged that in the end, that was a problem he created.
And but look at this. The problem is so devastating because of the fact that you have a situation now where you have one dominant single party, but we are the two major parties here. Not in, and we have the ICM party and the Independent, but there's not a national link. The Democrats and Republicans have a national link, and the other party controls the House, the Senate, and the White House. And there's really no local native-born person, except maybe for me, and I'm not lying. I'm never going to be back with the Republican Party. That is trying to educate people on somewhat what's going on.
They can.
because the chairman,
You have
as just said,
Liliana is a Republican. She can't educate nobody else.
I don't think she's still national committee woman. There's nobody. I think that's April Nolan, if I'm mistaken, if I'm correct. But there's nobody.
No.
And John or Mr. Orb, he, whether you like him, dislike him, he knows the process.
Mhm.
He's very knowledgeable. He
Mhm.
knows the process. He knows what he's supposed to do and what he's not supposed to do. That much I know about the gentleman, and I've talked to him several times. So here it is. It's the same fear that Urbiati has come out to play. You're not in the game now. You're looking for advice. You're looking for information. You're looking for someone who really isn't. He will help when it's an interest to him,
Mhm.
not an interest to you. And you can't force him to come do anything.
No.
That's a dangerous situation for the Virgin Islands. And it's only now people are saying you could play these games with people who are willing to play it with you. But when you meet people like myself and others who are playing that game, now you're up a creek.
I was glad that they had sense enough to vote. Those who voted no to vote
They
no.
had to.
But to tell you the truth, I was interested to see how it would go if the motion for the Sabina had passed. Because my thing was they going to go to the length? Because I'm sure the man would have refused anyway
He would have refused.
to
And
send a marshal for him or whatever.
And-
And how do you explain this to the people?
I mean, you can send the marshal gets him, and all he has to say is, "Thank you, Senator, for inviting me. I have nothing to say. This is a private party, and based on the court decision, the district court by Justice Malloy, we don't have to be here today. So I'm asking you to excuse me because I'm not answering your questions. I would just sit here and you ask your questions, and I don't answer. That's it. You embarrass yourself."
You know?
Because that's what I would have done as state, because I was one of those that's like, this ain't working. We don't have to answer any questions about our internal political. That's why I thought it was so funny. I was laughing the whole time. Because it
But
was
they
like, this don't make
spent
no sense.
such a long time on
Yes,
that.
for that.
Okay, that's the
nothing.
problem I had, and it pissed me off even more because the more time they spent on that, the more it pushed back the item that I was waiting for.
Right. You telling me that I have to come to you to explain what we're doing for the people?
And the judge
Really?
said that you have no business in the People's Party internal affairs.
Right. And
So
listen,
what about that you didn't understand?
and listen, I signed up with Senator Joseph, and that's Miguel too, because she asked me for folks who say, "Oh, you're bashing." No, I ain't bashing nobody. This people say what they say. She's asked if she had in the past, right here in this station, when she came over, "Brown, how is it you're working with everybody else and you ain't work with me?" I said, "But you ain't come to, I have to come to you, Brown. You don't be with everybody else. You could pass a thing to me too, a legislation." I said, "But Alma is Magyar." She's like, "Well, I don't care."
Wrong?
So I ain't like I bad with her or nobody. I good with all of
Just
them.
like I tell you, with the
So
one with-
in ain't like that,
just like
folks.
I tell you about the one with the miss, wrong? You can't work with people who ignorant, who stupid. To begin
Oh
with.
Lord! Oh Lord! I'm so glad that hey, I having so much fun. You know, I wasn't having fun on the radio after I wake up. People call up, disrespect me. But today is, I'm glad I got it. That's my wife just text me, folks. I know she's saying you are Miss Morehead. Yeah, that's right. It's true. But
We leaving now, just cool out. Is that right?
let me see.
But I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if there isn't the basic understanding of certain things, you know, it's a waste of time to try to work with somebody and something.
But I telling you now, Miss Morehead, that legislation you're pushing gonna pass. The people listening today can see that this whole thing don't make sense because when everybody wants it to be rushed, elections are not about rush to get the results. It's about fairness, and no matter what, it's not going to be certified on that night. Mr. Williams, Ms. Fox said the same thing. If you pass the law, we will comply.
Well, the other thing that she's doing, and she'll probably double up on it next month, is that it will increase costs.
She's right.
But you know, nobody ain't talking about how much it really costs with early voting.
But
That's a serious cost
Early voting-
that nobody ain't talking about.
all of these things cost.
Okay.
And but in order for the public to have trust, when we see all this corruption, You have to have the people have trust. You're getting people every day getting arrested for corruption in this place. You have people who are seeing folks get elected, that when they get elected, they no longer know right from wrong.
And you
You
have,
have to, they have
you
to do
know,
it. They're gonna do
one of
it.
these days I would like someone to do a survey to find out how many government employees are registered voters who vote.
That's a
And the
good
reason I'm
question.
saying that, people, I spent a month, I lived for a month in St. Thomas
Uh-huh.
when I was circulating the petition for the reapportionment initiative, because St. Croix was set, they had met the quota of required numbers. St. Thomas was behind. So I went to St. Thomas and got up, and every day I went by Lockhart Gardens parking lot, and many people would be listening to me were there because they remember they see
Yeah.
me there. They even had interaction with some religious people who want to tell me stupidness, but they ain't voting. But the bad part was when I went by the government offices, and not necessarily office, but buildings,
Yes.
because I didn't interfere to go into actual working spaces, but the vicinity, and have people with government t-shirt with the badge right on their chest, boldly saying to me, I know vote. Me and with that should mean I got the same thing happening all the time.
Mm. Ah.
Okay. So when Avery Lewis made the comment about he don't know what millennium was surveyed, okay, and I am out there because it's thousands of signatures I had to get
To the
with that
referendum.
petition. Talking to
Yeah, you and your
people
brother went out
every
all out.
single day. I was out there for a month
Yes, you
in
were.
St. Thomas. Hey, the guys, hello people. I ain't like St. Thomas. Me, I ain't about it.
You don't
I
like St. Thomas?
Not at all.
They got a Ritz Carlton and all of them nice. You ever been in? I ain't been in the Ritz yet. But I
But
haven't been in the Ritz.
I
Isn't that
got,
nice?
I
Views?
got good treatment
Oh,
from
the food ain't out.
no,
The food ain't out.
I
Okay.
guess I can't mention
But they
the
got
place,
good drinks.
but you
though.
walk through the graveyard to go up the hill.
Okay. I don't know where that is.
Okay. I was up in the guest house up there.
Okay.
Very good treatment, I must say. For
Yeah,
the
they
month
said told
that
me
I
I
was
give
there.
good treatment.
Okay.
No doubt.
But,
customer service. No doubt.
I spoke to thousands of people.
Yes.
Okay? And these were people who at that time looked to be in their 30s, early 40s,
Right.
who were telling me this. And my disbelief was, you standing up there in a government t-shirt telling me you don't vote, you ain't even registered.
Well, a lot of people, Miss Moorhead.
Yeah. So I would really like for somebody to League of Women Voters. I always talking and ain't doing nothing. Do a survey to find out how many government employees are really registered voters.
That's a good. That's a PhD level.
And
thing,
I
you know.
bet you it
That's
would
a-
be a number that we wouldn't believe
Because-
that is so small.
Because Miss Moorhead, just like I said, 109 years under the flag of a nation that you think, and now you're hearing from Dr. Brown, they don't have no sovereignty. You better come out and vote this one. And the people that we elect, especially to delegate to Congress, we better know what we're doing.
But you
because
know what I
we better know what
realized
we're
too? It's a misconception that they think that if they don't vote, then they're not involved in the corruption, the mismanagement, or
No,
whatever, the negative. That is what really come
It
across.
reflects on all of us. It reflects on me, you, all of us. It reflects on a community that many people that I work with, they always say that to me, Brown, your place corrupted. And it doesn't mean the people corrupted. It means that things that right and wrong, we always coming up with some
It look
excuse.
like I touched somebody now.
You touch a lot of people now.
Good afternoon and welcome you on the air.
Good afternoon, Miss Moore. I listened from the time I start and I laugh just because you get it. I got cool shot. Let me put it down with you. Let me put it straight up with it.
Crucian talk.
Yeah. You know, I tell my son the same thing. I said, brother man, whether you because we're gonna get used and abused by you.
Yep.
Not knowing these people here ain't doing us no good, showing that they're not doing us no good because
Amen.
of how you move.
Right.
Okay? And you know, a lot of people kind of upset, especially when it's you know, vote. And I don't never cuss somebody on everything, but tell them kind of thing that to understand the people, those elected officials already know the numbers. That I'm telling me who ain't registered, who ain't voting.
That's true.
They know all these things here.
Yeah.
For a fact. Okay? And it's been years now that they've been doing this here and knowing this here. Okay? Because one thing I can tell you for sure, they don't even take around to pass. They are what do you call it?
The leaflet, the handouts.
Right. They don't even say go to pass those people out. They don't say get everything. They don't say think about these
They're not campaigning anymore. Yep. There's no town meetings or not. Nobody really putting any effort out there.
Exactly. So, Mr. Brown.
Talk to me.
Yeah, man. Hey, you did a wonderful job. And
Thank
I'm
you.
going to get you in trouble, but Ms. Morehead. No, Ms. Morehead, I think I'm going to get to read the papers and the field day. I will look for you. Goodbye. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
I love my people, though. This is what I'm saying. Listen, Miss Morehead.
Yeah.
We're going to live great. And we're going to hold them people accountable for the viciousness they did to our people and hold us back.
Well, I did it with you, bro.
You understand? They can't get away from us. I told them that. I tell everybody, when my wife come to you, like my wife had take over. You know my wife, they're going to the, like when we went down to the delegate for, I talked about it and I forget who program, Jamila probably, but we went down to the office and Miss Scotland did asking me a whole heap of questions. Lovely lady.
Yeah, Miss Scotland is a very nice lady.
Nice,
Very
professional lady.
Yeah.
She asking me, so I don't know all this history and stuff, so I get frustrated. Like, why she asking me all of these questions? So my wife is like, listen, my wife goes, listen, let me take over. Joseph, let me take over. My wife asked the question, and she Miss Scotland answer. I was like, that's what you wanted? How can I do that? And Deborah is like, can you don't listen? You come in here, just you come in here, you think what the lady know, just answer her question, Edward. I'm like, yeah, Deborah, you're right. Like Jimmy Weber said, team. The way someone got me team. I sit there like, what? That's what she was asking me. Miss Carla, I had to apologize. I didn't understand that's what you want. And listen, so I'd be like, yeah, you know, I got to listen to Deborah because Deborah don't ever lead me wrong. So yeah, my brother.
Good afternoon and welcome.
Yes. Good afternoon, Ms. Moy. Good afternoon, Dr. Brown again. I didn't get a chance to do the research you asked me about the molasses because I had to run out.
No problem.
I wanted to continue listening to the program. but what I want to ask you and Dr. Brown, U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, 1 representative per district. Now, until we have one representative per district, which will give us accountability, and which will now give us the ability to have checks, so that we could have a balanced government. Because Dr. Brown, right now with the Republicans in charge of the whole Congress and the White House, and even some would say the Supreme Court, we don't have the ability to put a check. So the government is out of balance, even though we have a bicameral government here. So if we keep, no matter we keep having these election cycles every 2, 4, 6 years, we could have the best of people with the best intentions. But if they're
but at least on the mainland, the people, pardon the interruption, that this is just for the listening audience. On the mainland, the people still have are going to hold accountable, because when these are Republicans now who are not doing their job by holding the president accountable, they can now hold them accountable because they know exactly who didn't do what, which is what we can't do here because it is not one per place.
And Carla, let me say this quickly.
Well,
Keep in.
November is 10 months away, and hopefully, if we could hold this republic together for the next 10 months as we look forward to the midterms. Dr. Brown, you was going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say exactly what Ms. Moore was saying. Keep in mind, President Trump didn't want the Epstein files to come out. And it was Republicans working with Democrats, but because of the American people that pushed him to finally sign it. Look at this lady, I think, the Miss Norm. She's out the door. I mean, she's just holding on because the president said, but they're Republicans and Democrats now working together to get her out of there for Homeland Security. She's gone. Maybe in another, I give it by next week, she's probably out the door. So there are checks and balances. It's just a matter of, for Republicans to hold the president accountable, and in cases where they feel he's overstepped, they need to do so and say so. But President Trump is a very strong executive, no doubt about that. And he exerts his influence by primarying those folks who stand against him, in many cases beating those individuals. But the American people are the ones who have the final say, and we're seeing that play out.
And it's because they have the possibility to hold them accountable why everyone is now saying that it's very possible the Democrats will take over the entire Congress. Okay? Because the people know who is not representing them. But we don't know that here because we got 7 people bunched up in one place.
But I'll say this, Ms. Boyd and Carla. If we're going to have...
My good late mother, Martha Grant, used to tell me, too much coke spoil the pot.
That's true.
And as I look around here, the straw that broke the camel's back was Minneapolis, where we had Mr. Fritzy just killed, and Miss Good, 2 Caucasian American citizens.
And everybody saw the videos.
So that is where you now have, that is now where you have, where the Republicans them are now peeling away from MAGA. But Dr. Brown, as my algorithm, because I was looking into the Japanese bond market crash, I just got a notification. And as I listened to Governor Bryan analyze this morning, talk about going back to the bond market, I have the news for it. Higher yields on Japanese bonds could push U.S. borrowing rates up by discouraging investors from buying U.S. bonds. So, just a message for Governor Bryan, if you think you're going to go back to the bond market, that is just the latest news. And
the bond market is having some problems.
Japan is the #1 debt holder. They surpassed China.
Okay. For U.S. debt? For U.S. debt? For U.S. debt or in total?
US debt. Yes, correct.
Interesting.
And I just want to do something quick here. As of January 2026, U.S. Treasury bonds are experiencing a significant global sell-off, with major holders like China and Japan reducing holdings due to trade tensions, high fiscal deficits, and raising inflation, driving yields higher. Despite this trend, Treasury remains the backbone of global economies throughout the foreign confidence. Throughout foreign confidence is waning as bond vigilantes challenge the Federal Reserve rate cap. So the bond market is not looking real good right now.
Correct.
And,
but Mr. Grant, if anybody was to agree that this man with 10 months left to go to the catching bag market, they got to be stupid bad.
I'm just telling you what you think.
Yeah? No, but I'm just saying that for the listening audience. Because any one of them senators agree and that he could go, that is ridiculous. Because all you know he looking to do is how much more money he could use up before he go out the door. Remember, he has not answered to them about what happened to all the Epstein money. He has not answered to them about what happened to the money where it was Accra, whoever that he had sent to Houston to Houston Bank for high interest. He has not answered all these money he ain't answered to, and you will let the man go to the bond market? Hello, you got me stone deaf crazy.
But I tried to tell Senator Francis as he chairs the financial committee to ask him, do we know about the 220 million that former finance commissioner Ms. Bruce, remember they sent it here to New York and put it in a money market account. I haven't heard any accounts.
No, it didn't went to Texas. Didn't you send us that
No,
Texas?
I
It went?
don't. I don't
No, it
remember.
went to JP Morgan Chase, which is
Oh.
what the say, yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Jamie Dimon
Jamie
and
Dimon.
companies.
Mm. But the thing is,
Uh,
he ain't give them the accounting for none of these money they bought and asked him about. So there ain't no way, especially with just half a fetching goddamn year left to think that you going to get what for what? For what?
Congress has always said, Carla, we have too many accounts. They don't know how we end up with all these accounts, and we haven't slowed down with having new accounts and this account that, and all this money that they pour in plus the interest. I don't know. This is bizarre to me.
There's a whole heap of things he could cut back on. Cut back on the stipend for attending WICO meeting. Cut back on the stipend for attending PFA meeting. Cut back on them 6-figure payment for all them people who ain't performing because all the goddamn government doing is picking them up to lock them up.
You know, you're gonna say you don't like him, you know.
I don't.
Oh, okay. I did.
It ain't personal. It has to do with his position.
Okay.
let me ask you, the Envision program, I think I heard him mention something, but I was running back and forth this morning. Now, next year, September of 2027, will make 10 full years,
Yeah.
a decade since Alma Maria.
And I don't think they even do 50 houses.
Could you still see top in people's houses?
Yes. No, well, let me correct myself, Mr. Grant. You could see the remnants of top. Got the fetching top bill and they're so long. Patch under the sun, thing under the rain, patch under the sun, thing under the rain. That most of them gone and for people, a lot of people ain't even had the access to get new top to put on.
Something else I want to ask you quickly. A pathologist to do a autopsy. Seeing that you just had a triple homicide a week or so ago. Corpse still being flown to St. Thomas for that?
They said they hired somebody.
Somebody.
They hired somebody.
Targets don't come cheap, you know. They run a big price. You got, and then they want certain environment which they have to have.
But the problem was
They
not
have to have.
was not the salary. The problem was St. Croix does not have a facility.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay? The thing that they had there, they said was not acceptable.
Can't.
Okay?
Can't.
Yes, it was not acceptable. And then they got a what you call them thing, them mobile thing. They got a mobile type trailer type I forget the
For the
word.
morgue. like,
Yes,
for
for the
body.
morgue. And it sat for 3 years. The side been sitting down by Port Authority container port dock.
Wow.
Now they even brag how Port Authority ain't charge them rent. Okay? They said they got damaged a little bit, but it's nothing serious. So they're going to fix that up. And now they're going to install that where the justice used to be.
Like Golden Rock? Yeah.
That's the pipe going.
No. Let me shut my mouth.
Well, let me
Let me shut my mouth.
quickly. What is the current state of agriculture? Because I think I heard Neville James ask him something about agriculture.
Nobody, you know.
Remember his statement. I don't know how long we made it that it's a hot. Well, in light of what's happening geopolitically, you know, and you just saw what happened when you had no flights because of what was happening in Venezuela. Now, should a conflict erupt in Cuba or even in Venezuela, Dr. Brown,
Yes.
that would put a hog on container ships, and as I'm sure 90-something% of our food, goods, and waters are shipped in. So as far as local agriculture goes, I mean, I don't know what the 36 legislators stand, Dr. Peterson, at agriculture, but I would think that they would want to put their heads together and get on one page and start to do something to try to make it self-sufficient. I think I heard him say that they dig in systems in Bordeaux or something like that. He was telling Mr. James this morning. But to me, they're not doing sufficient to make it.
He must be like, if the digging system in Bodo, how come he had it in his state and territory address? They said he said absolutely nothing about agriculture in his state and territory address. So if he was digging system or if he was doing anything in Bodo, he would have mentioned it in his state and territory address.
He mentioned it aside. Maybe he didn't have sufficient time. He had so much accolades he had to mention in his state of the territory that time just ran him down. I don't know, because I didn't hear the entirety of his state of the territory.
Well, if you go online, the VI Consortium got where you could click to open up the state and the territory address, and then you could read it. But make sure you have time, because the blasted thing is like to 2 hours he talk or no.
What?
Yeah, he talked for a while.
Let me just end on this so you have to continue.
The last.
In light of what's going on with this administration, we just had numerous arrests at Department of Human Services in St. Croix. Just was looking at, I think, the consortium earlier. And then we had, of course, Ms. Jennifer O'Neill at OSD, the police commissioner, and Mr. White. You know, he seems to not even feel like, you know, the people are after him. You know, I mean, that would be like a black eye. But I don't understand why he's not taking that more seriously. And for this is a question for you, Dr. Brown. Where he's talking about the relationship with Ghana, trying to establish tourism and trade.
Yes.
As an unincorporated territory of the United States, which has to go under the Department of Interior, the Inspector's Office, would they have to go through the State Department and Interior to do any sort of business transaction with a foreign entity like Ghana?
It depends on what the memorandum of understanding details. Usually, you're correct that anything that involves the territory, depending upon the federal agency, namely Interior, and in this case, State Department, would have to give clearance. I was seeing cultural exchanges, tourism, and stuff like that. Things that have been done in the past with others from other places. We've done it with Denmark, Norway, stuff like that, and so on. And Ghana is not new. You know, that relationship was fostered. This is not the first time that a governor of the Virgin Islands have tried to reach out to the people in Ghana and develop that partnership. We didn't have the trade zone at that time. We have it now, so there may be some opportunities that present themselves. In regards to agriculture, I want to say this. I think we have to take agriculture in a two-folded approach. One approach is to grow our own food as much as we can, but to store the food. We can't just believe we're going to grow ourselves out of this. We have to store the food. I know the governor has talked about having warehouses where the food is there, National Guard will protect it, so that if we go 3 days or a week or so with a crisis, whether it's because we can't fly anywhere or go anywhere, we have sufficient food on the island to make sure, on all 3 islands, to make sure that we have enough food. And I think that's something that we really need to explore more, making sure we have sufficient supplies, warehouse, so that if we have a crisis like a 9/11 or this situation with Venezuela or something happening in Cuba, we can take care of ourselves for a period of days or weeks.
One last question, Ms. Moore. This question is for you. Since you seem like you listen to the state of the territory, well, seeing that we have an educational crisis, what sorts of solutions are, if any, did he mention in the state of the territory to bring our students up to grade level?
Mr. Grant, like I told you, I did not listen. Every comment I made because of what I heard people commenting on the talk show, or earlier today, I run into some people by Sunday when I went to the bank telling me why the man was laughing and carrying on like that all night when he talking state of the territory as such a serious thing. And I tell him, you're a diehard Democrat, you're supposed to tell me because it was a diehard Democrat I was talking to. You know, but as I said, go to the VI Consortium online.
I
And when you go in the article that refers to the state of the territory address, you'll see that it has thing that they see that highlighted or
Yes.
underlined of it. That and then you click on that and it will bring you to the state of the territory address.
Yes.
Cause I ain't reading that and I ain't reading it.
Your personal opinion, don't you think we need a state of emergency for what's going on in education?
But long time I talking on that and you hear me with that Mr. Grant on this program saying that for 2 years now they're saying that education in crisis, but nobody ain't acting like there's a crisis.
Well, why is our representatives taking this more seriously?
You asking me, I guess because they got the education and they ain't care about nothing else and they sending their children to private school. Or they send them off island because if they're athletes or something like that and they got better opportunities to go once they hit a secondary to go off island. I see that happening with some families.
But then that means that you're not looking for the future and how it's going to be beneficial for the territory. Because, and me and you and Dr. Brown, I'm sure would say that education is a foundation for life.
Of course.
Everybody says
I
that.
don't know what I would have done with myself if my mother didn't make sure. You know, this year made 45 years since I graduated from UDOIC in 1981. You know,
Everybody says that, but all I see happening, Mr. Grant, is that we're having non-profits popping up all over the place and saying that they could do this to help with the education and to do that, and they're looking to get grants or appropriation from the legislature. And this is how we're handling things with the education, with the academics, with the trades, with the violence, with everything. That's why it's going on. But the public education system itself ain't going no place.
Well, to me, and I don't know what the statistical figures are, but when we took the skills like carpentry and those things out of the curriculum, I'm sure that's when we had an increase in the dropout rate. Because everybody's not.
Let me correct you on something because I am a board member. We didn't take it out the curriculum. What happened was, as we lost instructors from retirement, we did not replace, well, not that we didn't replace, nobody was applying because there is a problem with the salary. And I have advocated, and even when she was there, Donna Fred Gregory, and she running for governor, I'm going to come and hit her with this question again. Because my thing then was, why don't you separate the trades from the AFT? Because, this is the problem. The AFT isn't looking for you to increase the compensation for the trades, and then you ain't doing nothing with them. So separate it, because what happened is this is how we're losing program after program. As people retire, there's nobody else, and because they're making more money out there doing the trade on their own.
Well, I thought the governor said he was trying to hire the best people. That's why he was giving those high salaries. So maybe that would be an incentive to get people to come and teach these courses. Like my sister husband, a retired welder who welds different type of material. And he was thinking about coming back to St. Thomas, but he wanted to teach, even if he did whatever he could do, even if it's apprenticeship. He just wanted to pass on his knowledge of that skill. But I tell him, well, education right now in the Bush it's a topsy-turvy thing, and I don't know what's going on, how because he learned from apprenticeship, so he doesn't have the paperwork per se that might be required by the ATF to teach his course, but he has the practical experience of over 40 years. So these are things that you need to do to get people maybe who are retired, still able to come and maybe teach a couple of days a week something to help, revitalize, these, because we're gonna need plumbers, we're gonna need carpenters, we're gonna need masons,
Agreed. And we have a very good vocational facility here on St. Croix. I mean, it needs a little TLC because that's the whole problem too. The maintenance has not been kept up to date. Right now, the entire St. Croix educational complex needs an entire replacement of the roof. It leaking all over the place. Huh?
The students could be the one doing that work.
Mr. Van, you're going the wrong way. Okay? That's stopped long time because the administration realized that it was one of the ways to repay their supporters was to make sure they get contract. And you can't get people contract if you got children doing work. So that is why that whole thing stopped, because yes, we used to have the vocational area doing all the maintenance in the facilities. I remember when I was there at Central High, the carpentry man, I mean, hey, he used to deal with everything with all the cabinets them in the classroom and all that kind of big one.
The laws could have changed over the years.
Yeah. So
I said that, and the laws that have changed over the years, certain things that you could have done in the 70s and 80s, you just can't do anymore because of different laws and changing attitude and stuff like that.
But they got by that because as long as the teacher had the proper credential, and then he just used the students as helpers or whatever. But the whole thing is everything got to be by contract. You ain't hear that day that some time ago it had a testimony with some thousands of dollars they were charging to just hang a door.
Yeah,
I don't know somebody tell me, I don't know who it is, the kiosk by the flea market right there, like for Christian, it was $200,000 to build each of those kiosks, which to me seems ridiculous. I mean, for that price, you're supposed to be able to build an entire house. So,
I don't know, but that is all what's going on with the corruption, Mr. Grant, that we have to make sure to put a brakes on this election. That's why we have to be serious about the vetting. And I have to help with that, even though you're the long distance.
Yeah, well, one of the things, as you said, as Dr. Brown was talking about, all these accounts that we have all over the place, how are we going to get a forensic audit to see what we have? Because if he's saying, I need even 130 million for the next governor, this, that, and then I hear him vendors can't get paid, this ain't getting done, that ain't getting done. So it doesn't make physical sense of some of the statements that he's making. I'm not down there, boots on the ground, to have a visual to see what's
actually. But Mr. Grant, we would not get a proper accounting anyway, because I don't think from ever since they created the PFA that they have ever brought that organization to the legislature for any report of their status.
Well, I think Oakland Venta mentioned back in 2017 there was an audit done and there was some $150 million accounted for. And I think that was the main reason why they couldn't use the PFA to float the bond, and they had to create a special purpose vehicle, which because it didn't have any sort of credit history, they had to use the run cover over as collateral to grow the bond. So,
and let me remind you that the PFA is who is collecting the royalties from the the name just went down my head. The refinery that we in the mainland. No. Oh wow. Brother Art, I may reference them because I am making it.
What's that refinery? Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. The royalty, all the income from that goes to PFA, and nobody has never gotten accounting of what they receive.
So why won't somebody bring Nathan Simmons down to the legislature? He's the director.
But this is the point that I'm pointing out to you. Nobody has ever called for the PFA to come when they got budget call, and when PFA don't come to tell them nothing. They act like
Let
it's
me send a message out to my classmate, Senate President Milton Potter. Classmate, if you want to be on the right side of history, if you're listening, I know you have staff members who listen to these programs and monitor them. Let's start there. Let's bring in the PFA and get an audit done to see what we actually have on the books and go from there. Anyhow,
let me just stick something in there, because rumor is that he is running with somebody who I don't know. So you can't be number 2 and get the finance from the Democrats if you step on the toes of the PFA. Okay? So you better back up after classmate. Thank you for the comments, Mr. Grant, and we'll wait to hear about your research.
Yes, I would definitely do that. And I'll look into the 220 billion that was put into the money market account here in JP Morgan, see what I can find out for that. Godspeed next Wednesday on your program.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take care.
One of the things that I got a text, and so one of the things I want people in the Virgin Islands to understand is vitally important.
Go ahead.
That world that we know for the last 60 years is over. Politics that we play is over. The way we do things, we can still do it certain ways, but a lot of it is over. It's just over.
Well, Mr. Brown, that's why I keep harping on the fact that it starts with the proper selection this election.
Yeah.
Okay, because it will continue if we don't select the right people. Well, they will try to continue. Let me put it that way.
And they will continue to go to jail. Because at the end of the day, unless we're independent, which they have those that want it, most people, if we're freely associated, we still don't get the American money. We still don't go to jail if you do these things. And you see them, they're focused on sending our people to jail and prison. And that's not going to change.
And Mr. Brown, if you could do something about that, because
It's
an education thing.
Not saying
because the people who talk about independence,
yes,
I think it's because they don't understand free association.
Right.
Okay? Because I'm pretty sure they realize we really can be in them, but they just don't want to be the other part.
Right.
So their choice, as they see it, is independent because they don't understand this free association. And somebody needs to
educate the people.
Yes.
But all of that,
as simple as possible. Because there are people out there who say all kind of thing about free association, like the Miss whatever, and that you
don't like him. Why should I ask? I'm not ask. I don't ask. You don't care much for
I don't care for people who deliberately misinform our community. Okay? Under the pretense of I am all about love and unity, while you're bringing the controversial up in front of my face to just start the negativity.
Well, I would want to see and hear. Maybe I'm at work, so I have to work. But I'd like to hear what Verdell has to say about what I just said, the sovereignty. It'll be interesting because I know how passionate she is, not just her, others as well, about being tied to the U.S. and hearing that we really are not. And of course, there are going to be those who will call it.
She speaks. I have heard her say plainly she's an American.
Okay, so then does that mean then that for those who feel that way, if we have to vote to be citizens of the Virgin Islands, what would those folks choose? Would they choose to be dual citizens or citizens of the U.S. and not want to be here anymore?
They will try their best to do what they have been doing.
But that's not going to work.
Yeah,
that's not going to work. I mean, you can't deny history, and like I said, there may be. How can you win? how can you win? How can you deny the U.S. sovereignty is not here? You can't. So at the end of the day, unless Denmark can prove, and I would be the first to come back on the radio and say, folks, I was wrong. Denmark has actually had the paper. It's a legitimate paper from the 1800s, which they don't have. Then you could say that I'm wrong. But I know they don't have it. So at the end of the day, how can you ask the people to stay in this situation when they don't have sovereignty or your consent? It's impossible. Checkmate. You can't do it under international law. You cannot do it. We cannot do it. You can't go and adopt a constitution recognizing their sovereignty and they don't have sovereignty. And how do you get sovereignty? You have to have the right to go to court and say, and you don't, because you don't have a copyright. So how can you do it? You can't.
I'm waiting for the sixth constitution paper.
Yeah, and like I'm telling you, I assume they're going to have it in there. And legitimately, as I just said, the Sixth Constitutional Convention has the right to say, we don't dismiss because that's what Judge Wilma Lewis said to me too in my court case. I don't dismiss anything that you're saying, Dr. Brown, but this is not the place for standing, meaning go to Congress in essence. So I assume that the delegates for the six are going to say the same thing. We're not going to dismiss what Dr. Brown said. He may be right, but he's not the Congress. And the Congress is the one who says this, and Congress is the one who has to take it out. So I'm prepared to go to Congress whenever it is and say, take it out.
I'm glad to hear you prepared.
Yeah, that's why I gave you that document. And you'll see what I'm saying in that document has everything that I'm saying that the members of Congress know. But the members of Congress were afraid about something, which I can't get to on air. But in regards to education, I think folks need to understand something about education that we don't talk about much. There's an issue on the elementary level with a lot of times that's where you see the performance gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start seeing our students get to high school, you see the performance gap it pretty much on the same national level. And it's just now with free tuition and all these things just skyrocketing with the graduation rate.
Mm-hmm.
Elementary has a problem, and Senator Bielek mentioned it, and it is so true, attendance. The parents are not sending the elementary children to school. They come up all kind of excuses. Now they come into the school, oh, they got paper coming out saying we're supposed to pay $100, and this code say we have to pay $100, and they're worried more about paying the $100 than the fact that their child hasn't been in school. Some of them missing 20, 30, 40 days. So how the children going to do well when they have that? They have no playground, they don't have no basketball court, they don't have all these things, but you still ain't sending your child to school. That's not acceptable.
I blame the administration for lack of enforcement. Because
how you do that, Miss Moore? How can they be enforced?
When we were in high school,
Uh-huh.
because I had this I wouldn't call the name of the principal at the time, because I used to see the people coming in, and I was familiar with what particular child wasn't coming to school, and here the parents come when it come time for what they call it for the food stamp, the
evaluation and stuff. They need the paperwork.
They're coming with the paperwork.
Yes.
And my thing was, if that child ain't been coming to school, what are you giving them the paperwork for? Okay? Why are you giving them paperwork? And we did that all the time. Give them the paperwork. So there's no consequence. And all they had to do was tell them, look, you ain't sending the child to school, you can't get a paperwork.
But it's about
I bet you they would have make it real rough for that child to be in school every day. But they want that paperwork.
Well, this is why they need a truancy court. I've been advocating for it. Maybe I need to put my foot down. Because at the end of the day, truancy court is not punishment.
Put your foot down.
It's not
because
punishment.
That's why I see that we dropping the ball and they happen with all over. They're getting their paperwork and they don't care. And then they're taking the child with them to submit the paperwork and to help.
Unacceptable.
Yeah. That's what they're doing. They're using the children.
Unacceptable.
And we are allowing it.
And
because we don't enforce the policies and the laws.
But
and you know why? Oh, they ain't going to cost me. So what is that costing?
Well,
to a child's life.
I have to say this about Superintendent Bashir. She don't play around. I know she gets a hard time from people, but she's always been respectful of me, and I've been of her. She doesn't play around. She will ban you. She will call DHS. She will make your life difficult because she takes her job seriously. That's from me, from what I've seen. Now, others may disagree, which is their right. But at the end of the day, a lot of, like I just said, Everybody's seen it. 60 years was one way. It's not going to be that way over the next 60. Send your children to school. Stop stealing from the government. Stop stealing from the federal government. Do the right things. You're going to go to jail. You're going to go to prison. It is a fact. You don't believe me? Watch what's happening. It should have never been this way.
And Mr. Brown, I see it even when I going down to the post office. A certain child with a parent, something to 9, going up the hill, well dressed in Claro Marco uniform.
Yeah.
And my thing is, all I'm thinking is, nobody ain't reporting this. Okay? I don't know if that person fits into the situation with needing paperwork for food stamp. Maybe not. But my thing is, there must be something that can be done, because that is neglect. That is neglect. And maybe the point is, because I've heard that human services need personnel.
They do.
Okay?
But remember,
But why is it that we're not hiring personnel when this too would help our GRS business that needs them?
But this is two things. One is, for me, I'm a mandatory reporter, and the department can tell you I don't play around because that's the law. And all of us have to do an assessment before the school year is out or this year is out to let the department know that we understand that we're mandatory reporters. It's not about liking anybody. It could be my own family, friends. I have to report in cases of child abuse and neglect. So that is happening across the school district. I think across the territory because of all of these cases that we know about. In regards to, sometimes there's some other issues in family related that is not so much neglect, it's some emergencies, water issues, all kind of things that you look at and say, this isn't really an excuse, but then you know it's really an excuse because the water brown, the clothes got tea, all of these things happen. So that all of those come into play. And I'm not saying that's an excuse. You have to send your child to school. If your child doesn't have the school uniform, send them in a jeans and something, and we'll give them the excuse.
And you know why it upsets me with that? Because many times these children are so smart. They're
Very
so smart.
Very smart.
And they get frustrated.
Of course.
And then they become behavioral problems.
Of course.
And then here we go, that they're in all kind of system, and then that's the trail to jail. And it's not the child's fault, because it's the consequence that are put on the child because of the behavior of the household, the parent, or whatever.
Right.
And many times, like I said, it can be corrected if some of us would just do what we're supposed to do.
Well, we need to take the attitude.
And I'm saying in this part, I'm referring to human services, because many times the school does what it's supposed to, and human services drop the ball.
Because of the fact, and I do not speak for human services at all, but human services is for neglect and abuse. These are academic based. That's why I keep saying we need to hire at least maybe 2 other judges or so magistrate to address the academic component that is there for academics, for education, because of the fact that these are educational related issues that then turn into all the problem behavior you just mentioned community-wide. We've allowed this for too long.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's why the community has this problem where when our leaders are saying they don't have any money, but you have $18 to $24 billion. You have the cruise ships coming in. You have the Navy coming in. You have other things I know about that's coming, and other things people don't know about that's coming. That's in the billions of dollars. What money problem we have?
Yeah.
We don't have any. The Virgin Islands is one of the wealthiest places on the planet. I just said we are one time with St. Croix alone, not St. Thomas and St. John, just St. Croix was wealthier than New York in 1810. We don't have a money problem. We have trade zones. We don't have a money problem. We have a problem where our leaders are trying to control us and make us believe that we have this. And because the people don't understand financial literacy, they fall for it.
Yeah. And because they want
problem.
And because they want to keep the flow of money in a certain circle.
Yeah, nonsense.
Yes.
Nonsense.
Yes.
Because
that has only been, that is the one thing that I've seen over the years have been getting worse and worse.
But it's about control. And you can't control what you just saw. You were there. You can't control what's going to happen. Even if, like I said, we moved away from what we have now, You got more control from the US in many ways because the US is going to say, well, you know, we in a compact with you, you get less money, and now you're doing corruption stuff, we're going to shut down that money. This is what's going to happen, folks, if they don't move this issue I just talked about today. You guys know, Dr. Brown, because I don't talk about this with those people. You see, they got people in the VI that say, right, that they don't think Dr. Brown are running him out and he think he's so powerful. And I just laugh. I have the copyright, but what else more power I need? I sit with those people all the time.
This is why, Dr. Brown,
it's funny to me.
I am waiting. And
they better do what they're supposed to do.
Stupid league of women stupidness. I am waiting for the public forums.
You really into that, you know, but they don't do it like that. You don't debate.
But they need to do it.
You don't
That's
debate.
why I said done with the Fetching League of Women.
You don't debate.
That only goddamn helping and to keep the corruption going.
I debating you, I coming at you, you know. I want the job, I coming at you. But they don't debate you, they don't ask a bunch of questions and all of these groups. Come on, let's get serious.
We need to get there.
Let me see if you're ready. Who knows about Greenland? Because that's the issue now. Who knows about how that relates? Do you understand sovereignty? Do you understand consent? Do you understand all of these issues that you may be the one sitting there when the Congress say, we don't want to incorporate you? How you going to handle those things?
But well, we're going to wait to see because this is the thing. The majority of the candidates for the delegate to Congress and for the governor, lieutenant governor, are registered Democrats.
But this is it too. You have one, he's my partner.
So I waited to see how they're going to select to come with the one person.
That's what I'm saying.
The party.
And then look at this, and I'm not saying anything bad, folks. I'm just pointing out something. Let's say Tregenza Roach did run with Norvell Francis, as everybody's saying, right? As an example.
Yeah.
Tregenza Roach wasn't born in the Virgin Islands. I think he was born in St. Kitts Nevis.
Yeah, I think so.
But what I just said, where's his loyalty? He could say, no, I asked you that. Where's your loyalty? Would you give up that U.S. citizenship and be a citizen of the VI? If you know you ain't gonna do it, don't run for governor.
And people,
you see
why this become important, and this is why
important.
When we were talking about this in the fifth cast, I pointed to people and said, okay, any one of us sitting here can name one person that was a naturalized person, became a senator, retire, and where they went?
All over. A couple of them did it.
A lot of them went right back to the place that they didn't even know. Because all they would do was ban there, the raise right there. So this is why we can't allow that to be our number one position.
And it won't happen. Because I know for a fact in my heart, the U.S. is never going to incorporate us. There are other bad things in the history with Denmark. They'll never, these islands are like a curse, especially St. Croix. And I don't mean that in no bad way about St. Croix. But look at all the nations that have colonized, all of them end up running out of here because they can't.
But to be perfectly honest, they ain't going to incorporate none of these territories.
No. And they've said that. My President Stephen Miller, he's made it clear. McConnell has made it clear. President Trump, you just said it, but right. We just hear just how holding on. And like I said, I'm certain people are listening. There's some cheering, and there's again the text, and it's like, yes, we happy.
And
folks that are
that include Puerto Rico. They might not
Puerto Rico. No.
As much as those Puerto Ricans want to take their white, they're white.
No. But this is why President Trump and these guys are saying, you don't have to come here anymore. We're taking an attitude with the whole hemisphere. We're going to try to lift you up, all of you. You may feel like you're being colonized, but we don't want you here. And we're not going to make you come. And the Democrats are going to do it too, maybe not to the same degree, but they're going to do it as well. It is clear.
They're just trying to look like they're different.
Right, but they're all the same.
But the point is, America is a racist place, period. Full stop.
Full stop. But people say that.
Full stop.
I mean,
full stop. Yeah, we know, hey, it's a racist country. Full stop.
The history of as it relates to us, I cannot deny, it's bad. You know, I
And
can't
even now, that's what the fight is all about.
it's really bad.
Eh? They don't want the mixture.
Yes. Even here, they didn't
Eh?
want the mixture.
Yeah.
It's true.
And they've seen that they're getting more and more positions of power, so they're stopping it. Because before they tolerated because they were still controlling
Yes.
across the board. But they're seeing that too many non-whites are getting into positions of power. And they
And-
say, hello, done with that.
And the U.S. has, folks, the U.S. has the military for the next 1,000 years. There's not going to be a nation in this hemisphere that's ever going to get to that military power of the United States for the next 1,000 years. That's what you're seeing. I know with the Golden Dome that the president is talking about and wanting the rare earth from Greenland and all of those things, it's not going to happen. So the region, the hemisphere is going to get lifted up, but at a price for some who feel like this is real colonialism, and others who are going to say, yes, this is good. We should have, the U.S. should have done this from long because of all the problems and terrible atrocities that are happening. But in the regards to the Virgin Islands, we're the tip of the spear. They need us. They're going to deal with us way different than Guam, way different than Greenland, way different than anybody because we're right there next to them.
If we could only get leaders that realize that they need us more than we need them.
Well, Miss Moorhead, why just tell you who has the copyright? I
Yeah.
sit with them and I said, the
Yeah,
leaders
but
here who frightened
Yeah,
to
but
leave,
I
that's
talk about
them.
them good for nothing in government house.
Well,
and
they're going to come along. They're going to come along. They don't stop. Ms. Moorhead, I've been, how many times, Ms. Moorhead, you forget, you're the one that told, how are you to act like, you're the one that told that senator at the time, I ain't playing with Brown. And the folks, she come there, the senator and her, stand in front of me. Ms. Moorhead gonna see me smiling. She's like, I ain't playing with you enough, Brown. I said, Ms. Moorhead, why you? You? Everybody think you is some naive, smiley, funny person, but not me. I know the character in you. You got a plan. You always have a plan, but you smile and grin and all of them think you're stupid, but not me. All right? I look at you and I start to laugh. I said, you see me like that this morning? To see you like that? I'm the only one see you like that. And I get serious one time. I say, you know me. Everybody sees it now.
well,
I'm not going to allow St. Croix especially to get hurt. I love this place. I love St. Croix. I love St. Thomas and St. John, but I don't live there. And I'm not going to tell them what they should do. And if they want to leave, then they can leave.
well,
That's them.
I'm going to point out to you why I don't like St. Thomas. I can't like St. Thomas.
Why?
Because if you can allow to sacrifice to hold St. Croix back just so you could be
That's
always
hard.
better off, I can't deal with that. And that's why I see all my life I have
I hear you.
tried many times to put that to the back and say, give the benefit. And each fetching time it come back the same way.
Yeah, because
And I
as
say,
you said,
no,
because
I can't deal with that.
because one, St. Thomas is the capital, so that has an inherent structural issue right
Yeah.
there. And two, the Centomians are aggressive. They're aggressive.
Yeah.
They are about money. They are about being aggressive. That's why the girl I'm good with them. When I go over there, they don't treat me like a star because they know my attitude is a little different than most Crucian people. We more passive till we get fireball. Then we just stop down everything. But they consistently want to make their money. And they don't care. They drop $500, $600, $700, $1,000 and keep moving like, oh, this is not right.
But
That's
that's
the
when you
Centurions.
find out who they really are. Because if you come now and show that you're just aggressive as them, they tell you one time, you ain't running nothing there.
But that's what they're supposed to say.
Okay?
But you ain't running nothing in St. Croix either. That's why I don't tell them. I don't tell them that. You ain't running nothing in St. Croix.
Do you know?
We got to stop being
When-
passive, Miss Moorhead.
Do you know?
Uh-huh.
And I want to tell you because I became chair of the Board of Education by default.
When this time?
I got hoodwinked.
This time around again?
That was no.
Oh.
This was in 2016. Okay? And I got on because I never intended to be the chair,
Yes.
to be an officer, period.
But not
It
chair.
was my first time. And I always take my time to understand and learn.
How to be
Exactly.
chair. Yes.
But I got a call, okay, of people complaining about the sitting chair at the time, and she was quite abusive, okay. As intelligent as she was, because of her ego, she was quite abusive. And they made a case and said they wanted to remove her, okay? And would I go? I say, you're fine. And I immediately mentioned someone that I saw would be a good replacement. And the person was like, "God, they want the line. They had me on a conference call. No, I saw and so. I said, "Oh, okay. Well, then how about I mentioned another senior, but all of them were senior members. No, I saw everybody had an excuse. And as it went around, because there were four people on the line
Yes.
beside me. By the time I got after the second one, I saw my brain tell me again, that's a tough one. But, but
They catch you.
yeah,
They catch you.
so I became the chair. Okay. Do you know that St. Thomas got on the radio in St. Thomas? I heard it myself and said, imagine them people vote to put a crucian to remove a St. Thomas from chair at the Board of Education. I was like, you really said that?
Yeah, they're gonna say.
Okay.
They're gonna say.
He didn't just say because the whole thing was not who it was. The whole thing was that a crucian removed a St. Thomas.
Right. But this is what I'm saying, Miss Moorhead.
But what he
Are
didn't
we
point out was, I mean, it was the St. Thomas that
So-
wanted the removal.
So then this is what I'm saying, Miss Moorhead. Now, as you said last time, we have differences. Let's see how we're gonna dance. They're gonna dance with us, or they're gonna dance with the US. We're gonna see. I believe they're gonna dance with us. St. John for sure. I believe St. John will dance with us. Because St. John shouldn't be connected to St. Thomas. St. John should vote whether they want to or not. The local native St. Johnians, not those. Listen, let me make that clear. I respect
The
everybody, but we need to
Unions,
to
I
vote.
ain't too sure on them because
Oh,
like I said, those were the one I was dealing with.
Miss Moorhead, you ain't talking
They're all
about.
about the money,
They're all about the land. They got to be. They got survivor. They're gonna vote
but
for it
they think the money then is St. Thomas.
because that's how we structure it. The money always been in St. Croix. They know it's in
So how
St. Thomas.
we going to convince them?
They don't convince. I just tell you, the Park Service only has sovereignty over the St. John because of the fact the U.S. has sovereignty. The U.S. doesn't have sovereignty. So when the U.S. don't have sovereignty, you could go in and say, we're going to have a discussion about how much national park is going to be. It ain't going to be 60%. It might not even be 40%. We're going to have a Park Service.
There's in the agreement, I believe, there was an established number as to how far the national park was supposed to go.
Right. And
they got way past that.
right. And so now they voided.
Yeah.
They voided because you don't have sovereignty. All that we know of, when this gets to Congress, and they said, yes, Dr. Brown, you're right. All that we know is gone.
But you see, the problem I have with St. John is that I was disappointed that whole thing with the school and whatnot just fizzled out.
Can't they have court cases? That's
Yeah,
why.
but you're still in here nothing.
Well, I think they're waiting for the court case. We got to do a better job of educating our people to be advocates
Oh.
and don't be afraid.
And this is what I mean. It was like, there are people that I expected to keep. Well, we'll see what happens.
Well, you see, that's why I said it's a whole new world. You might not believe everything I just said, and I don't expect people to. But at the end of the day, I know they don't have sovereignty, and I know we
No,
never
I
give them
believe you with
consent.
that. Hello, I mean,
Not you, the other people who are listening, because we've never talked like this. What for 109 years, we've been led to believe that we're under this flag, and I know that other programs, people are gonna say, he know what he's talking about. But what documents do they have? When you listen to them, ask them, call them. Where's the document? Well, you calling my chauffeur, telling me anything. You're in the because you don't have the documents. You don't even know where to find them.
Well, Mr. Brown, make sure you walk with the wife all the time. Because when you going to tell me that you done because people disrespect and you
Yeah.
hello, meaning that.
Why?
Meaning that. Hello. Hey,
You can't disrespect me on no Miss Moorhead.
Yeah, I said, but then well, this is not the reason why I sang the song like your wife do a better job at standing up now. You look at you and I am going to fire.
Because Miss Moorhead, I expect the host to be able to tell the guests you can't have call in and disrespect my guests. That's how radio is.
Yes.
And if you let your callers disrespect me, then
you know I don't do that.
That's what I'm saying. That's why who I ending with is you and Abdul. But they got people have this show and they let their callers call in. You ask me to come in to share with you. I do this at my free time, take off my time, my money being spent, and you and your callers disrespect me, call me Uncle Tom and call me all kind of foolishness. Really? I ain't nobody Uncle Tom. Do I look like an Uncle Tom to anybody? The way I talk, do I sound like an Uncle Tom to anybody? You're not in the room. I'm in the room, and you calling me name? Look what I just said. You're outside in a folding chair, and I'm in the room. When I'm in that room, I don't see Oprah. I don't see Beyonce. I don't see Jay-Z. I don't see none of those people in the room with me. 9 out of 10 times, or 9.9, I'm the only person there advocating not just for Virgin, but for Black people, period.
I hear you.
All the time. So who are you to call me names? You don't know me, and you don't respect me. So that's why. So everybody gonna see for themselves and have the governor and the delegates say, when it's time for me to do what I have to do, I'm gonna do it. And there are issues that are important to me. If the refinery comes back on, we're gonna discuss all of those issues.
I'm going to push Mr. Brown because
push me for what?
Because
push me for what? You're smiling, you know what to say, you know.
I know we're going to have to come down to a forum between one of them Democrats, which will have to be, well, Stacey, if she's still running for is she running for re-election?
But she has the Legion of.
Okay.
If she runs for you know that.
It'd be re-election, or it's going to be her or the former Senator Sarro or the Hellenese, or they also said the rumor is that former AG
Denise George.
Yes.
That's a wow.
One of them going to be coming to meet the independent.
Yes. Who's more knowledgeable than somebody?
Being up front, it is my nephew.
But he is knowledgeable.
Eddie Moorhead.
He is knowledgeable. I'm not saying I support him or anybody. I just saying what I see.
Have to be. And he will from now need to establish that there must be whoever come out of that Democratic whatever.
Real debate.
A real debate. And not with no good joke here. But Women League.
You are the Women League.
Them they jokey.
But they have to be.
No, it got to be somebody else, and we ain't going to no WTGX with all these different rules and conditions. And
no, that thing I didn't like hearing that. They should not debate that. But you saw that with Governor Brand and Mr. Vianney. That's what hurt Mr. Vianney. Governor Brand in the last thing, he went after Mr. Vianney. He didn't care about the rules. He debated him like, see, he don't know what he talked. He did the other, and it kind of shocked Mr. Vianney because Mr. Vianney doesn't have that personality. Yeah, but that's what you got to do.
Was too much of a nice guy.
Right, shaking your hand. He's shaking your hand. I shake your hand when I don't lose. But I coming at you.
So, but I waiting for that because Mr. Brown, you're going to be in the room. That room that you got to be in.
I got to sit in that room?
Because
tell me the reason.
Whoever sponsor.
I see your guy. I see what your guy.
If they come with a question, okay? If they come with a topic, Mr. Brown, I ain't go out to know. And tell them hello. Mr. Brown want to go to the mic to ask a question.
Because they have to represent me and the people at the VI. They have to know this.
Because we can't pussyfoot with this no more, Mr. Brown. We can't. This election, people, and it ain't just the congresswoman position. Every position counts in this year, including board election and board education. People get it straight.
Because as you say that, we have to now set up that structure. If what I'm saying is true, which it is true, we have to do exactly, we have to start that process. We can't wait for the U.S. to say, okay, we don't want you guys, we give you 10 years.
And the board education part is even more important, and I am hoping that we get at least a bunch of new people that would change the majority setup, because we need serious education reform.
Right. And
And these people sitting down there now, we ain't
that
studying
is what I'm
it.
saying. Do you want to be the people? Man, this is this whole thing. People are going to say, why do you want to be that? And especially, why do you want to be that if you're not from here? The people from here are going to say, that's not an issue for me. The people who are not from here but want to be in this, why do you want to? What if in 6 years you're still there and then you hear that the US is like, which one will you choose? They're going to get asked that. The ones who from here are clean. They're going to say, well, I born here and I grew up here and I have no problem. The ones who are not, you're going to turn some of those people off if you say, well, I want to be more with the people I hear. It will. You know it. I've seen it happen to people. Because they'll be like, well, where's your loyalty? Well, your loyalty is to the VI. Your loyalty can't. When my dad was petitioned to the court. Just like you said, I knew more about St. Kitts and Nevis than I ever did St. Croix until I became a man. Everybody thinks I know all this. I knew this as a man over there in my 20s. I knew more about St. Kitts and Nevis than I did here. Yeah. When my dad became a naturalized, it took him a long time. But when my dad became a naturalized citizen, he never went back to St. Kitts. Never stepped a foot back in his home.
Well,
and you could never, and he stood up for the VI. Mm-hmm. And he said, this is your home. And I chose to give up that to be here. And I appreciate here. And I will bury here. And I ain't going back there. Because I no longer am a citizen there. This is my home. And he was from St. Kitts. And people from St. Kitts, proud people. So I learned from that. Yeah. If you want to be a citizen of the VI and see all the blessings that come, I know what's coming. Maybe the governor knows today what's coming, but I know what's coming for a long time. Way longer than him. He just finding out, maybe. Maybe he's finding out, but I don't know. I don't know 2-3 things that he don't know.
I don't think he's finding out.
Maybe, maybe not, but I know. And I know the blessings that the good Lord has for us. That's why I want to see who is for here. Because you can't be for someplace else and stabbing those of us in the back. It ain't work, so.
And that is why, Mr. Brown, when it comes to forum, 2, the gubernatorial one and the delegate to Congress.
This gonna be a race. All of them.
Make your wife know from now.
Get me that.
You.
Everybody can. I sit there in my phone right now.
You have to be in the room. Okay?
Well, I waited for some of them,
Because
they don't come into me, but
people have to understand this election
is serious. Most important. Yeah.
Very much so. And I hate saying that because that said every election.
Yeah, but this one.
And then people, it's like, well, they said it every, but I don't know what to say to make them understand the difference with this one.
Well, we're gonna see, Miss Moorhead. But I have to say something before we go. See, I even longer. I had my cough and it went away a little bit. But the festival thing, I gotta say this, folks. I'm very upset at hearing, and I didn't get a chance the last time, but I have now, that children got into fight, big brawl and everything, and shut down the festival for a night. That can't happen again. Can't happen again. Because we offering a festival that's for free.
Yeah.
You go any place else on the planet, you gotta pay. And if you can't control your child, who is a minor, I kind of want to hear, well, he and she got, no. You, the parent there, that send your child out to behave themselves, to go with their friend, and now you fighting with the police? No. 3 things gonna happen. Pick one. Because I don't talk to senators, and they agree something will change. Because if you're an adult, you're going to be arrested. 1, if you fight and you shut down the festival activities for that night, your parent pay. All of them, they pay.
No, you can't shut down.
They shut it down.
But I don't care, but I blame the police.
Why?
Because I know in the time with Anita and them and Trambog and all, that's such a thing.
But that's a different time.
It don't matter that you're a minor. They take you behind to jail.
That's a different time.
But it's the same. That's why it have to happen now. Let these children understand you don't respect the law, you're going to jail.
So
And
you
spend
got
the
the-
night and then let your mother come for you tomorrow, but you're going to
I
jail.
don't shut down the party.
And exactly.
Well, they shut it down.
But
That's why
then you blame the police. What kind of piak police we got?
no, man, I don't agree with that because the police has to do what is structured in the law, and children are detained. They're not arrested; they're detained.
Well, then
So if
detain them up then. Detain. That's why you call
but
it
somebody,
detain them.
but if they shut it down, somebody has to pay. Cause them artists still getting paid. Is that
But
their
that's
fault?
why I say don't shut it down. Detain the fetching children. Take a barrel of a van from the taxi man or whoever, put all of them behind the net and take them wherever, YRC or whoever, and detain them for the night.
Okay, so number two is that people gonna say, I ain't paying. I know that. So then that means then your child cannot come to the village for the rest of the season.
Fine.
But that means you can't come because that's your child and you want to come with your child, but that child ain't coming in.
No, when I just stay home with child.
One of them gonna have to stay
Yeah.
home.
Father stay home, mother go, and then they check the child. Mother stay home, father go, wherever.
Go right?
My aunt, uncle, or somebody, grandmother, or somebody.
Or the
ain't got-
third
ain't got
one,
to take.
or the third one,
What's
you
that?
say you could tell me that we start to pay. Because when people pay for things, they don't do these things. Which one you like, Miss Mohan?
I ain't like the one to pay at that. I pay.
You don't like number three.
I pay enough taxes.
So you like number two.
Which was
Well, number two is that you stay out the village for the rest of the season.
hello, yeah.
Okay.
I
I like
that
number
one.
two too.
Yeah.
I like number two.
You know, there
You stay
must
out.
be consequences for bad behavior.
This is true.
There must
Denmark.
be consequences.
Denmark.
That's the problem that we not enforcing things. And people are trying to take an advantage. Somebody going to come to the vex with me now.
Baby, me too.
Good afternoon,
Oh, boy.
Tarva. The car time shot.
Lonesome Dove Energy LLC.
Oh, yeah. That's what
Oh
it-
yeah, no,
yeah.
no.
Public Finance Authority. And to my astonishment, nobody's available. I say, well, I would like to
Lonesome
know how
Dove.
to get the last forensic, a copy of the last forensic audit. So, there's nobody here available. I said, y'all keep playing with federal money. You see where Ms. O'Neill is?
Yeah.
You see
But how nobody available at Carol Buck unless a change supposed to be a six-figure PR person for PFA?
I asked for
He's touching that.
So if nobody else available, she should at least be there.
Carol always available to answer questions, you know.
No, she worked for the PFA.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
Legal counsel wasn't available. Nathan Simmons wasn't available.
Well,
There's nobody available.
Let me give her a suggestion.
to
Okay.
address my concern. I
The
think
Democratic Party took over Michael Springer hour on Saturday, and Carol is the main host with Emmett Hansen. Carol to ask her how you could get the information for PFA.
Why you messing with Carol? That's my girl, you know, but she has to answer. Yes, Carla, she has to answer. She has to answer. She will.
Well, Ms. Burke, who I know, somebody, see if she can get some answers to us. And see when we would like to see the last forensic audit. We would like to see the holding for Lonesome Dove Energy LLC to see what's going on there.
But Mr. Grant, they ain't got no audit on them because I remember that was what the situation was. Because they don't have an audit is why they couldn't do
Right.
the
And
exactly.
And Mr.
Exactly.
Grant, if you really want that to happen, right, you got to go to the legislature because PFA is an entity that
Exactly.
is within the government and they don't necessarily have to give you that executive information.
So-
the legislature
Exactly.
has to give you that information.
So really, you call your classmate, your former
he
classmate.
said so, right? He said so.
You know, yeah, because you said so, but he does have the authority to call them into session. Call them into a hearing to answer questions.
The other thing I want to ask Dr. Brown, like I said, the $220 million that was split in JP Morgan Chase, as a concerned citizen, and I'm now here in New York, I could go down to the headquarters downtown Manhattan,
Yeah.
down on Park Avenue behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands?
My experience dealing with banks and stuff like that, unless it's not your account, then there are confidentiality issues and stuff like that. Historical documents that's in the public domain is in the public domain. That's different. Again, if you want any information as it relates to the government of the Virgin Islands and information that you cannot find online or through any sort, you have to go through your elected representatives in the legislature and ask them to request a hearing in order to get that information on behalf of the people of the Virgin Islands. You yourself, you may be able to find some, but like I tell people, all the information I have has been from other people way more powerful than me in a lot of ways.
And that's why I said it's best to go to your former classmate, because really PFA got several accounts, and it ain't just the lonesome dove or whatever you want to know about all the accounts they have. And they really need to be called to a committee as a whole in order to get to answer those questions.
And Carla, let me say this to you. Hold on a second, Carla, and let me say this to you. With all of the corruption that's going on, they need to do it. They need to show all these accounts, because this is really getting out of hand and really making us look bad. And the federal government is not going to play with that 18 or 24 billion with all of this nonsense. So what you're saying is vitally important. They need to have public hearings on all of these accounts so that the people and the federal government could know what they're doing with all this money.
Dr. Brown, have you heard from Samuel Apley since Trump was elected a year ago?
Me personally? You mean me personally?
Still working at the Israel Affairs Interior for?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I reached out to him like maybe last year. I didn't hear back from him to talk about these same issues. But
as far as I know, he's still at the
I think he is.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he changed his cell phone number because the number I have him and he's not responding. So
could be.
Said, well,
could be. It could be that he changed positions. They've been changing in TV as well.
Well, remember they've been downsizing.
Yes.
Hello. The answer to that question can come from the delegate to Congress.
That's true.
She would be able to tell you if he's there, if he's not there, or what his position is.
Well, the last time they called her office in DC, and right now they're working virtually because of the snowstorm.
Yes.
No, but they ain't got believe. See, the man in St. Thomas should know too. Anybody, anybody in our office should know, because they deal with that the Interior office.
And I think there's a senator that's assigned to the Interior, and there's a senator assigned to the White House. So I don't remember who, but you could find that out and ask that person. They should know as well.
Yeah.
Again, there's a lot of information out there that's showing that people need to know the process. Once you know the process, you could get anything done. Because this is government. This is a Republican form of government. So all the questions you're asking, Carla, are excellent questions.
Based on the Sunshine Act, are they not supposed to be public information?
The Sunshine Act is an interesting act. There's still executive sessions. Some people feel they've called too many executive sessions, but executive sessions are part of it. There are other information, though, that's supposed to come out when they're not in executive session that sometimes don't come out. So that's one of the issues we have with information and transparency.
Okay, well, I will contact the Port of Sale office for Washington D.C. Mr. Francois, who I've known he used to work in the Washington D.C. office. He took over for Cletus Clendenin in the Port of Sale office. And see what information I could get from him and what sort of assistance.
No problem.
Anyhow, just wanted to give y'all an update as to when we were talking about. We couldn't remember the name, and then I remembered as we used to have a hair listening. I said, well, let me just call the PFA and see if I could get some information I could bring to you before you end the program.
Thank you.
And a Wednesday afternoon and nobody available. And all of them is 6 figure.
Maybe they still have it over from the state of the territory.
And all the champagne from the after party.
They do. They do. Passion fruit and lemon. What? The best I ever had was in St. Thomas. The food, but the drinks, yeah. Oh, yeah. St. Thomas and the drinks.
So Dr. Brown, let me get a thing. You say the cushion are better cooked than the St. Thomas?
But we know that. Crucial woman, you tell them they can't cook just as a joke. They're gonna take that fry pan and get on you. They're gonna take it serious. My wife and all. If I tell her something, it's like I just turn up my face like, why did I say anything? Cause that food would be like, no, it ain't taste good this time. So I just be humble, like Weber said, frightened. Cause that food ain't taste good. Said Thomas now like, but the drinks, yeah, they got good drinks.
Well, I put second that because I hear when people come over there for the agriculture fair, they'll be raving about the food over there.
Of course.
Hello. They gonna go back with food to last a week. You understand?
It's true.
Hello. They not come
Yeah,
with
true.
bag to go back with food to last a week.
It's true.
And don't talk about the pork, the pork.
Yeah.
Hello.
And the ice cream.
Hey,
Listen, I'm gonna take you this boy. I'm gonna tell you about dress so you can express me up some strong sour ice cream.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.